Good evening, everyone. We will call this City Council workshop to order on May 4th, 2026 at 4 p.m. We have 4 of our 7 members present, so we do have a quorum. Councilman Oplager is not going to join us tonight. He had a procedure today, so please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. We have one item that is on the agenda for tonight for this specific workshop. This is applicant interviews for project fiscal year 2026-01, Manvel City Center Public-Private Partnership P3 development. The first presentation we are going to have, council, is going to be from KHJR/Collaborate Midway. And what we'll do for both of these, council, we have 2 presentations tonight. We're going to keep them at 30 minutes apiece. So we'll let Manager Dan just give us a 1 to 2 minute introduction. We'll have the presenters come forward to the podium, present themselves. Keep it to about 10 to 15 minutes, so that way we leave an opening for questions. Council, there's not going to be time to go through all of our questions tonight, so thankfully it's 4 of us, so that should help some. But we'll give it an opportunity to have some questions, get through as many as we can, and then at 4:30 here, we'll cut it off to move on to the next one. And any follow-ups, we'll give it to Dan Johnson if we have follow-up questions, and then we'll look to have an executive session in the future to discuss what it would look like to award the bid and the financial component, legal advice associated with all of that. So with that, Manager Dan, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to kind of level set, I guess, where we're at tonight in the process after the first of the year. Remember, we advertised for this project. We'd actually got the idea from another P3 group that came to us last year and kind of pitched the idea of thinking outside the box. The city has not done a P3 specifically to date. So for this big project, this size of a project, we all kind of agreed that this would potentially be the right way to go. So in January, we went out for bids, had a pre-bid meeting in February, and then started receiving bids. We got 4 full complete bid packages, and the selection committee went through and looked at all of the different criteria that was specified in the RFP and basically scored all 4 of the submittals. And for the top 3, we brought all 3 of those in and interviewed them with the selection committee, and were able to add the points associated with the interview. And so tonight, what we've got is the top 2. So this is basically the most points as far as that could possibly be compiled as determined by the selection criteria. So they're both of the ones tonight are both very, very close. We had, I guess it was 5 people on the selection committee, and I think we're at 3 and 2. So there's no real runaway winner just yet, so to speak. So I don't know that we can go wrong with either one of these firms. They're both great. There's a little bit of difference in the sense that the first group, they're kind of 2 groups working together, I guess, right? And so I won't steal their thunder, but they'll be able to explain it. The second group, who's probably a competitor in other projects and whatnot, is apparently appears to be more of a one group combined. So our first one, I guess we're calling, let's see, are y'all ready to come on up? We got everybody here now? Perfect. We'll invite y'all up, and you can have the podium if you like. Do we need to move that, or is that good for y'all right there?
Well, thank you. I'll open and then I'll pass it on to my colleague. I'm Chris Kay with Midway Collaborate. We are a strategic partnership. We work well together. Most P3 projects, successful P3 projects, especially when we talk about lifestyle mixed-use development, require more than just capital. One thing about our group is we do bring the capital to be able to execute on these projects. Every project we've ever started and committed, we've executed on. Collectively, we're one of the largest mixed-use P3 developers in the state. These types of partnerships require a lot of transparency. They require infrastructure innovation, partnership innovations, and shared municipal goals. The Midway Collaborate team brings proven track record of P3 excellence to the Manvel City Center initiative. We're committed to delivering integrated mixed-use environment where lifestyle, wellness, professional, and retail hospitality spaces work well in harmony with the city's strategic plan to ensure measurable tax base expansion and long-term fiscal stability for the city of Manvel. So from a long-term perspective, these projects, we look at sustainability, we look out 10, 20, 30 years of sustainability, and we look at what the economic impact for these projects are. So that's the economic side. On the social side, we look at lifestyle, we look at wellness, we look at your community's needs and make sure that these projects are aligned with those needs. With that, I will pass it on to my colleague Anna, and she can talk a little bit about our presentation, and then we can answer some questions. Thank you.
Is this the clicker for the slides, I assume? Okay. There we go. Hi, everybody. My name's Anna Deans. I'm an EVP with Midway. Midway is over 50 years. We're based in Houston. We've become most well known for our mixed-use destinations that are oriented around the community and walkability. One of our most well-known projects is probably City Center. That's about 15 years old now. It's about 35 acres. Some of our more recent projects are Century Square in College Station, East River in Houston. So we really pride ourselves on creating places that the community really loves and embraces and really call, their own and take ownership of. So this is the type of project that we really look for and enjoy and are passionate about. We have done a lot of P3 work. A lot of these involve ground leases. We've worked with cities, management districts, redevelopment authorities. But I think where we really strive is we're creative problem solvers, and we like to work together to establish collective goals and then figure out how we can achieve those goals. And it's not always in the same way. So we usually start off a relationship like this with asking a lot of questions about what you're trying to achieve. And while, the market may dictate certain things, we really try to find a way to achieve your goals, even if that means taking a step back and kind of rethinking how we approach the problem. These are images on this page are some of the other projects that we've completed. Century Square and College Station, Kirby Grove is another great example. This was an underutilized park in Houston that the Kirby Redevelopment Authority asked us how they could help activate. And so our solution to them was, well, let's redesign the park, reorient it, work with a well-known local landscape architecture firm to create a play place for kids, but then let's also flank that with new development. So we ground leased the land around the park and built an office building and a multifamily project. So those uses help activate the park during the day and in the evening. The ground lease revenue also goes towards the operations of the park. So it was a very symbiotic relationship there. The park won a global award, which is kind of hard to believe, but it's been a huge success. So that's just one great example of how we've done a similar structure in another project. These timelines vary greatly depending on a lot of different factors. Defining the program early and then developing a schedule that is realistic is really important so that we can hit those milestones. But this is also impacted by lease up, it's impacted by the market, and so we try to be very realistic about these timelines. So for a project like this, we'd really want to spend a bit more time understanding your program requirements and your timing, and if there's any phasing involved in this. And with the phasing, we have to be very thoughtful about how we complete a first phase that has a vision and destination, so it doesn't feel like it's halfway there. But this is a rough timeline of what a project like this might take. Do you guys want to come up and talk a bit about some of your financial capabilities? We've done a lot of large projects. We've partnered with a lot of different types of investors for different projects. We truly try to find the right solution for a specific project.
Our investors and really what we try to do is attract these investors to these types of projects, and there's a process we go through. Obviously, our investors are very focused on long-term investments, not short-term. We place we have under management, we have about $1.6 billion in these types of projects, and then On average, we place about 600 million in these types of projects, invest in these types of projects within a 24 to 36 month period, so it's rolling. Raymond James is one of our major financial investors. They bring in investors from around the country interested in investing in these P3s. When these P3s fall into opportunity zones, it makes it even more attractive because the returns obviously are tax exempt when you leave the funds in for over 10 years. So there's a number of different capital stacks and financial models we use, whether it's bonds, tax-free municipal bonds, whether it's more conventional financing. The one common denominator is we don't burden cities with the debt. We carry the debt. We'll structure a vehicle that will cover that debt, and that way it doesn't affect your bonding capacity. So that's a very, very important element. And if we're fortunate enough to work with you, we'd sit down and explore those different financial models.
Thank you, Chris. I brought Trevor up here. He's on our asset management team, so he can walk you through kind of our long-term mindset. But I think what really differentiates us as developers is that we are not merchant builders. Merchant builders typically build a project and then they immediately sell it so they can recapture that value. We have been very long-term holders in many of our projects, so I'll let Trevor speak to that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for letting us all have the opportunity to speak here. We appreciate all your time, and it's good seeing some familiar faces. Yes, as Anna said, I do head up our asset management team at Midway and have enjoyed the time working with this group. And I would say, there's a lot of things being discussed right now. I hope that you take away that whatever it is, whatever problem it is that you need to solve, we are adaptable through all stages of the process to meet y'all's goals. And my role is once Anna and some of our other colleagues finish the actual construction, the initial lease up, usually the initial capitalization, then it comes over to my team where we'll make sure that the operating of the asset is completed to the highest standard, that the lease up is seen through to maintain quality, that the different legal structures are set up and maintained. For example, in the majority of our projects, we set up property owners associations, which allow because usually you'll develop it under one single entity or one collective ownership. But by setting up the property owners association, what that allows is cohesive control without necessarily ownership. So while we do tend to hold things long term, we have the opportunity to sell things and capitalize when the market's right so that all stakeholders can benefit while the quality of the asset is maintained. So for example, the Architectural Review Committee, anything that would affect another building owner within the project, all of that can remain under the control of the original development partnership for as long as we desire. And that's a structure that we have tons of experience with, and we really consider it part of our secret sauce. And just personally, another reason why I'm excited to be talking in front of you is I grew up coming to Manvel. My father's medical practice was just right there for about 20 years, and it's exciting seeing how the town has developed, and I look forward to hopefully having a piece in the next portion.
Thanks, Trevor. So that's what we had today. I'll add one more piece to this kind of long-term mentality. We take great pride in activating our projects year-round. We think that's really critical to them staying relevant within the community. So at City Center, for example, we have over 250 events a year. So we plan that into our budget. So this is, local bands, yoga classes, kids for, parents and their kids to come out during the day. And that's a huge, important part of our projects and plays a big part in the design of the green spaces as well. Is there anything else that you guys want to add? Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Anna and team. Great job condensing what could have probably been a 2-hour-long presentation into just, we were sent in advance from our city manager, your bids and your presentations, and we've been able to review those, and we'll certainly send follow-up questions to our city manager. But what we'll do is we'll start left to right on this one, right to left on the next one. So Councilman Keith Bonner, we'll start with you. Just one or two questions. That way we can work through this here.
Thank you for the presentation. I have read through the entire package that we were sent, so I've got a couple of questions. I noticed in some of the structure for the multi-use, there was some comments about having multifamily unit living above some of that, similar to, say, the Pearland Town Center's setup where they have office space and mixed use. With the knowing that this council's basic stance is against that, what are the alternatives that you could possibly do there? So that's my first question. I guess my second question is, how do you work with this, with our citizens' input to figure out about the tenants that you're going to bring to the table?
Sure. Both great questions. I think the ultimate mix for any project requires a bit more thought and conversation to really come up with what that program needs to be. We typically have multifamily in a lot of our projects to add density and create that 24-hour or 18-hour environment. With single family nearby, that I think helps quite a bit if you can have people able to walk to the project from their homes. So we can develop a plan that does not include multifamily, but we would really try hard to connect to the existing neighborhoods with walk paths and things like that, so that we would encourage as many of the residents around the project to come as often as possible. And with that programming as well, we would try to cater the programming to kind of the demographics of the neighborhood and have a lot of family-oriented activities to try to encourage more people to be at the property, in the evening when you might not have as much office use, or, during the day when the retail is a little bit slower. So it doesn't have to require multifamily. We just find that the more density we can get, the more successful the retail is. And so that's just something that we would need to factor into the underwriting. And then in terms of getting community input, we'll typically try to come up with a conceptual plan that does not feel too final, and go to community events and try to get feedback from people at those festivals or events that are already taking place. We'll also try to reach out to neighborhood associations and go to their neighborhood meetings and kind of present our thoughts and just get feedback from them on what they'd like to see at the project. So it's really important for us to do that very early before we get too far along with any plans, because people don't usually react well to other people making decisions for what happens in their own neighborhood. And so we just try to get feedback early and often as much as we can.
One of the things I'd love to see if y'all were chosen to do this project is, the main thing we hear from people is, we don't want to have the same thing that we've got 5 miles down the road. We don't want to be another this city or that city. So I think I'm looking for somebody that's got the vision of uniqueness, to put things out here that are businesses that are already thriving, businesses that are looking to move into growing communities, not just cookie cutter, something to get a tenant in, to get a lease, a payment going. And I know that's a hard balance, because ultimately we don't want to have to foot the bill. We want it to foot the bill. And so I understand a little bit why you try and rush tenants in sometimes, but that's what I'm looking for, is that uniqueness to make this the special place around here. That people from Houston want to come here and spend their tax dollars, and from all around, because we've got something that nobody else has. So
Yeah, we, if I may respond to that, we, I think, pride ourselves on creating authentic places, and that starts with really understanding the history of a place. I think City Center and East River are two good examples, because while they're both mixed-use projects, they're both very, very different. They feel very different. East River is on the east side of Houston along the bayou, and so we really researched the history of the site and the area, and that informed the architecture of the buildings. It's got a very industrial, kind of raw feel. It's also influenced a lot of the tenants, which are local to that area and in response to what a lot of the residents wanted. But today, if you're not creating an authentic place, then you don't have that resilience of place, because people know that they can. I mean, there's a Lululemon everywhere. We don't need any more Lululemons.
Not here.
We need, no. All right, well, There you go. Well, we'll get a mix. We'll get a good mix. We'll see what people are interested in, but you have to have some kind of authenticity for a place today, I think, to resonate with people where they really, feel connected. So I appreciate that comment very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Hello. Appreciate the presentation. Yeah, basically everything Councilman Bonner said is I agree with every one of those. And definitely I would be a big no-go on the multifamily. However, we would love to see a hotel or two. I think, and I know y'all have seen our layout, our proposed layout that we're really in love with that layout. So, but anyhow, I think hotel that would be a good income source, a good way to get a lot of people walking around on site, as opposed to a multifamily layout. And of course, the hotels I think would be play a big part with the sports fields, obviously. I like the way y'all talked about long-term hold. But then you also mentioned that may sell off some things. So it's kind of like we'd like to know a little bit more about that balance. And is there, on the long-term hold, is there any kind of, and I know, it's hard to, when you have people backing you financially, whatnot, and everybody wants to, to make a profit off their investment. But is there any kind of guarantee on specific long-term hold, 15 years on this or whatever else, So I'd like a little more information on that. And before we move on to the mayor, this project is so huge. I think, I don't know how we can just sit down after just one or two conversations and say, okay, this is going to take a lot of work to make sure we're doing the right thing with the right people, And, but I promise you, we are extremely excited about this and excited about y'all being here.
Sure, yeah. Jump in, Trevor.
Okay, thank you again. So let me use City Center as an example one more time, if you'll let me. The initial retail partnership that we had with that, we developed the first two office buildings and all of the retail that's not under an office building. We were in that partnership, we led that partnership as the general partner from 2008 to 2000, actually even a little earlier, 2007, 2021. And this is after we had formed a partnership to build, to buy the old mall, tear it down, and do the original land development. From there, we capitalized a new partnership to go vertical on the retail in the first two office buildings. We sold those two office buildings, and on the second one, the first one we didn't have the opportunity to stay involved with the new buyer. The second one we did, and we still own that today. We sold then, our partner said it's time for us to exit our investment here on the retail, so we sold that in 2021, and we maintained a partnership there with the new buyer and stayed involved. And then when it was time for their exit on their investment, because it was theirs to control, they chose to exit, and we've remained in an advisor capacity for the new buyer. All the while, we still control the Central Property Owners Association, which is responsible for any cross-leasing between the buildings, the architectural review of the project as a whole, any tenant guidelines, any signage guidelines. So while we may not be the controlling partner for any capital anymore, we still offer services. We still oversee the vision and the delivery of that project. So as you said, capital demands a return, and sometimes the market's going to determine when that cycle justifies it. So we don't know. It's hard to say. I don't have a crystal ball. But in terms of a guarantee, we would be happy to look at and consider whatever would make y'all comfortable.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's I'll finish here in just 30 seconds, but it's from my own personal past experience. I know that, once you do something's developed, whatever, and then it moves on down the road to owner number 2 or owner number 3, things kind of lose focus and control. And And so I don't want that to happen, so I know it's things we'll work on. We'll work out and, and it's okay, this is, year 1, year 10, whatever else, but it is a concern.
And that
Thank y'all.
concern, that concern's
Appreciate it.
heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I have just one question. I have many questions, but one, just to make sure we can stick with the 4:30, and my two colleagues here have questions. I will have some follow-ups regarding final product, vision alignment, control points for the city. I think there's opportunities there. What happens if the project underperforms? From a financial absorption perspective, who ultimately would, from your proposal, who would carry the risk? Would that be the city? Or would that be you guys and your investors, so that way the city and the taxpayers remain protected?
Yeah, I don't know that our proposal was specific enough to identify that today. I do think a project of this scale warrants further discussion and conversation about how we structure it, and that is based on your goals and priorities. So if limiting risk is at the top of the list, which it should be, then, there's ways that we can structure that. But it also may impact, timing of development. Candidly, today is a very challenging development environment, and rents have stayed flat and costs have skyrocketed. So there, on most projects, anywhere in Texas and in the nation, it's difficult to get new construction to underwrite. That doesn't mean that you can't plan for when those things come back into balance, but development is very much market-driven. So we want to make sure that we're underwriting something realistic that aligns with the market and your risk tolerance. And so there are different ways that we can structure that. And I don't think that we got to that level of specificity, to be honest, in our proposal, because it would just require a bit more conversation.
Yeah, I think there's opportunities there. We have the EDC that's contributing financially to the project. There may be an appetite to do a special district with sales tax recapture opportunities. And while we don't necessarily have off-site detention for the property, there are other pieces of infrastructure there that have been oversized to prepare for the project coming. So knowing that it's city-owned land already, there's certainly some opportunities there to get creative with it. So I'll have some follow-ups on that, but I appreciate your answer tonight. Thank you. Councilwoman?
Well, I think everyone knows that this was something personally that I've been wanting to see for a while. I think one of the biggest tragedies, obviously, for us is that we took too long to pull the trigger on this. Therefore, it will cost more, and delayed effect affects everything. My question to you guys, though, is what are lessons that you guys have learned from previous projects? Because oftentimes we have people come present to us, and it's either there's no proof of concept, there's nothing that they've learned, and that was started in 2008, and things have drastically changed. So if you were at the drawing board today with City Center, what would you do differently that you would think would make it more of a success? Because it's clearly been successful, but for other reasons, not just
Sure, absolutely. I mean,
the vision.
Our mixed-use projects are so complicated. I mean, we have learned endless lessons. That's why I think it's so important that, whichever group works on this has that experience, because even just vertically integrated mixed use is complicated within one building, and then you add all of these uses within one development, and it just,
Chaos.
yeah, it can be. It's like Disney World. So we actually have a management team on site at City Center that, it's a full, robust team that it takes to manage a project of that scale. I'm sorry?
It's about 24 people.
24 people. So I would say one of the biggest, more recent lessons that we were just talking about today even is operating costs, and really understanding what your operating costs are day one. And if you are phasing a project, scaling the public space to be appropriately scaled to the rentable area, because ultimately, if you have a public space or a private space that is being operated and maintained by that entity, those costs are passed through to your tenants. And so if you have a large area of outdoor space that is being maintained by a smaller first phase of rentable area, that burden can be
Absolutely.
very difficult for those early tenants, and it can make additional leasing more challenging. And so I think when you're thinking about large-scale projects like this, it's important to think about phasing them, but also phasing the green space and outdoor space appropriately so that you can really keep a handle on those operating costs, because at some point it's built and that you have to maintain it.
Absolutely.
You know, and so you either plan for that in your budget and you understand that there's going to be, ramp up, or you just right size it. So that's, I mean, Trevor and the team could probably name like 20 other lessons learned, but I think the other big thing for me personally that I learned at East River is it's really important to deliver some of the retail space with the initial base building. So typically you have a shell space that you deliver to tenants, and then the tenant takes it from there and builds out their space. A lot of these tenants are not in construction. They are not used to building out space. They don't understand what that means, and they really shouldn't be building out a restaurant. They should be running a restaurant.
That's true.
And so I think it's really important, especially today with how costs have just kind of gotten a bit uncontrollable. It's important to have an experienced team managing those build-outs. And I would say for a mixed-use project, it's important to have, at least 3 concepts that we would deliver ourselves to the tenants turnkey day one. So when you
Ready to
open,
go.
yeah, you've got your coffee shop, which is at the top of my list, and then maybe you've got your fast casual, and then maybe you've got, your brewery. And those 3 things are enough to get activity so that when other tenants come to the project to decide if they're going to lease, they're already seeing people there. Because if it's dead, you just kind of, your leasing momentum slows down. So those are just 2 examples of things that we've kind of experienced in probably the last 5
I think it's super important. I think this council has seen already that whenever we do have people propose things that we have experience, learned lessons are valuable. There's weight there. You've seen things fail, and you've learned from that. So that's critical, I think, whenever we're looking at someone that's going to be taking on a massive project like this. So that's why I asked that question. The second question is, I was going to ask about town and country, because I feel like those 2 kind of like became one. And so you've got City Center, which was its own branding, taking over the mall, but then creating its own branding as well, taking away from that. So this is a brand new space. So there's not really anything that you can absorb and blend into. So City Center's different, right? You have town and country that was already kind of successful, needed that revamp. So that doesn't really fit this. This is a brand new from the nothing. I mean, you don't have the density, we have 288. So there's things that are similar and things that are not similar. So for me, one of the questions that I would like you guys to answer is, what would that look like to make it successful, knowing that today we don't have the density that Memorial City has, nor the dollar bills, the spend bills, right? Because of the demographic and the income of the homes.
Let me step in real quick. This will be our last question for tonight, so my apologies, Councilman, but we'll start with you for the next one.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be your biggest challenge here, to be honest. There's not a lot of visibility from a major road here, and so I think if you're going to try to achieve that level of density here, you have to identify a catalyst, destination, and because I don't think you'll be able to rely solely on
right.
the surrounding neighborhoods and word of mouth. Like, there's going to have to be an anchor that draws from a larger area. And so we would start with studying the demographics, understanding what that trade area is, and then trying to figure out what that catalyst is. But I do think that is going to be probably the hardest thing here is creating that density, because it has to be market-driven as well, unless you're going to really incentivize the first phase. And so it probably would require, that anchor, and then probably phase it, because it's also going to be a lot riskier to build the whole thing at once without knowing for sure that you're going to attract that trade area. So start small, just really nail it, get the destination, and then be ready to build upon that is how we would.
So because you said that, and it was leading into, we have right down the street, Pearland Town Center, which businesses there do not stay. They don't seem to succeed, and I think it was a great concept, but I think they jumped in way too soon for the density in that area, and they have not been able to attract the right type of businesses to keep it busy. And then you're fighting the online social media brain rot was how do you get people excited to leave their houses and get to a space? So while I'm excited for it, you absolutely nailed exactly where I was trying to go with that, is that this is critical to be able to pre-plan for that so that we don't end up going under and planning poorly.
Well, thank you guys for, I'm sorry, we do have to cut it off. That's
Okay.
going to be the end for tonight because we do have someone up following. As you can tell, we're very excited about this. We have a lot of questions, a lot more questions. I see that there's certainly being one, maybe two follow-ups, but maybe we would look to do it virtual then, and we could have a working committee of council members, 3 council members. That way you can dive more in depth. They could come forward with a recommendation. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being willing to bid and answer all of our questions. We look forward to continue conversations.
Thank y'all.
All right, so as our city manager walks them out, council, we'll get prepared for the next presentation, and Councilman, we'll start with you for questions. They are, yeah. We asked them to wait in the lobby, so that way they could have their time, and then they could come in next, yep.
Gotcha.
All right, welcome, welcome. So what we'll do here, Manager Dan, when you get back to the seat, we'll have you introduce who we have in front of us, which is going to be Hunt Companies. We'll give you guys about 15 minutes to give us your presentation, run it through tonight, and then we'll open it up for questions from council. We have until 5 o'clock. We can, little carryover, 5:05 we'll be pushing it, but we'll begin questions over here with Councilman Rossi Knox. So Manager Dan, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. I think in the interest of time, I'll just let them jump right in. This is our second group tonight. This one's a little bit different from the first in that it's basically one compiled group. It was funny, part of the team name for the first one is Collaborate, right? Which they're already collaborated in a way. So we had a great interview with them, and so we thought that y'all should have the opportunity to see what we saw as well.
And when you guys present, if you could stand behind the podium so we can get you in the microphone. We have quite a few. We have 21 people watching live online, and we want to make sure that they can hear you guys.
Let me know when you're ready. All right. Thank you. My name is Rodney Moss. I'm a Senior Vice President with Hunt Companies. We are a family-owned company based in El Paso, 80 years old, been doing public-private partnerships for about the last 30 years. We're the largest provider of military housing to the Department of Defense. That's sort of started our journey in P3s. And since then, we have been doing P3s globally, internationally, and nationally. We have projects all over the country under this delivery model. If you can think about Hunt as an organization, we're a multi-billion-dollar balance sheet, but our whole DNA of our organization is to sit at the intersection of real estate and infrastructure. So we focus on infrastructure first because that's what unlocks the real estate, and then the real estate follows, and to the extent that we're the most appropriate developer of that, then we will do that development. So you think about what you're saying, that we're kind of collaborative within ourselves. I mean, Hunt has built this company to be the one-stop, one throat to choke, one accountability partner for government with a big, deep balance sheet. So, Jeremy, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks. Hi, Jeremy Henry. I'm Vice President with Hunt Companies. I've been with Hunt for about 6 years. Prior to that, I was with a large AE firm, multinational AE firm for about 20 years. Pretty much have spent my entire career working with government in some way or another, whether it's federal, state, local, municipal government sector. I worked as an owner's rep for a number of years, kind of sitting on what we'll say your side of the table, really representing the interests of the public entity to make sure that your goals and your objectives are achieved in whatever the infrastructure is that you're needing. So that's really been my specialty, is to kind of understand both sides of that table and that coin. John?
Thanks, Jeremy. Good afternoon, good evening. Okay. Making sure it's working. My name is John Williford. I'm the project finance manager, a part of the Hunt team. Been with Hunt about 3.5 years. My background is I spent 10 years as a public finance municipal advisor and investment banker. So we'll get into it a little bit later, but I'm the one who kind of looks at all the modeling and makes sure this all pays for itself. And what we always try to do is make the sources and uses balance, meaning what you're going to invest into this project. There's going to be tax capture and TERS money and things coming in over time to eventually pay for that. So we'll get into that more later, but great to be with you all this evening, and thanks for having us.
So why Hunt? This is a picture actually from last summer in New York City as we, with the mayor of Waco, when we were planning the Waco downtown redevelopment, which we'll talk about in a minute. But as I said, we were kind of built for projects like this. We have decades of these partnerships with Texas government. You know, our processes are refined and proven to get success and to make sure that the taxpayer is always, you know, gets the best value for anything we do, and we are stewards of taxpayer money. The most important thing that we do under the Texas P3 statute that I wrote, which is Local Government Code 271.908, we are a steward and a fiduciary of taxpayer money until we decide there is a project to be done. So we kind of consider ourselves an extension of staff to help figure out the best right answer and make sure that all the stakeholders are on board and bought into the strategy and the plan before we make any financial commitment to each other. We are kind of an expert on these town center projects. We understand all the technical, legal, and financial complexities of doing these deals and how they all interrelate. We're doing the town center for Manor, Texas right now, in which it's an 84-acre development in which Manor, which really doesn't even have a city hall, has a pre-engineered building that's about 1/10 of the size it needs to be, can become a real city with a real town center and a real vibrant place to gather and civic identity.
Yeah, so Rodney really kind of teed this up already, but what you see on this image on the right is the initial site plan for the Manor Town Center project. We have just finished our first round of schematic design pricing on the civic components, which are a city hall, library, and that large kind of town green that you see there. And we were very pleased to see that we were tracking, you know, right where we thought the budget should be. So there's, you know, going to be a little bit of, you know, some trade-offs, things that they might want that we consider pulling into the project, but, you know, so far everything's tracking right where it should be, and we're really excited about that. And then on the other side of that slide is a rendering of the Waco project that Rodney also mentioned. So that's a new, basically 7-acre park. All of that land right now is currently in floodplain. So, you know, the biggest piece of that project is at its core an infrastructure project. It is taking floodplain or taking land out of the floodplain and creating this beautiful signature park that will serve the community for generations to come. And then around the perimeter of that 7-acre park are 6 parcels that will be development pads to provide opportunities to bring mixed-use development into the downtown of Waco. And much to what John's point was, that adding of density and adding of ad valorem tax and other revenue capture opportunities is what will eventually repay Waco for that investment in that infrastructure. And then this slide is just a sampling of other projects that we have recently completed. You have the Travis County Civil and Family Courts facility at the top left. You have the new Dallas County Biohazard Safety Lab that just had its grand opening in December. Is that right? Or March? No, March. And then bottom left is the City of San Marcos Public Service Center. And then on the bottom right is the baseball stadium in El Paso, where the El Paso Chihuahuas play. So those are all projects that are diverse in kind of what they needed. They're basically represent, a wide range of different types of complexity that we had to work through, whether it was through financing or constructability or long-term operations and maintenance. But they really represent, a spectrum of how you have to solve each of these types of projects with their own solutions.
And as a time check, we have 5 minutes, and then we'll need to open it up for questions.
Okay. Well, we need to hustle.
So project understanding and approach. These projects are art and science. It's all about creating placemaking to create the demand and for the investment of the mixed-use tax-generating investments. Typically, these projects, this process, which is proven, is to do a strategic roadmap in the first 90 to 120 days, in which we get all of the stakeholders to approve and adopt the roadmap so that we have an executable playbook and that everybody understands the math, they understand the phasing, they understand all the technical issues, and the teams are then able, in an integrated way with your FA, your council, all of the things that you need to participate in the process, and then we go through about a 9-month journey under this strategic roadmap before we get to a financial close and move forward with the project. John, you want to talk about the TERS real quick?
Sure. So real quickly, as we laid out a proposal, there's only 3 ways to pay for infrastructure. It's user fees, taxes, and grants and philanthropy. And what we envision in this project is replicating the current TERS that you have and using kind of that capture. So anything that you when you put in the public infrastructure and assets and the commercial development comes online, that tax capture will flow back to the TERS and flow back to the city to repay you all for that investment.
We're not going to go through the 4 methods of alternative finance. We can go through those as part of the question. So at the end of the day, these projects move at the speed of trust. You cannot move forward with these projects until you trust your partner and you trust the process. Otherwise, don't do it. It will not create value for you. So you need to pick the team and the people with the most experience that you trust the most. It's bottom line. Thank you.
Great job. Appreciate it. Just like I said to the previous one, I know we're condensing a lot into one, just a few short minutes here. But our city manager did provide us all of your information in advance, your bid, their scoring, these presentations as well. So there'll be follow-up questions that are sent afterwards from our city manager, more conversations to come. But we'll start with Councilman Rossi Knox.
Thank you for being here. I guess this is a question because the last group kind of offered up their best known project. What would be a project that you guys, I guess here in the Houston area, that you could point to that would give us an example, a really good example of your work?
Well, we do projects all over we just completed a very intensive sort of high-end, it's a apartment building, a mixed-use apartment building in Houston, but it's not an example of this. So when I answer these questions, please don't hear me to say we don't work in Houston, because we do. I would say Manor is probably very similar, very rapidly growing city, as fast or faster growing than Manvel, without a lot of resource and a lot of experience doing these kind of things. And very similar in terms of creating a town center and a mixed-use master plan that works for generations and creates a really special place. I live in Southlake, and the Southlake Town Center has been an inspiration for me over the last 20 years to think about how much placemaking, it's not just about developing things, it's about getting them in a way that people spiritually experience them. And when you can do that, that is what makes these things a success.
So have you guys done because I don't know if we can toss a picture up of the plan that we have or our design.
I've got it.
Have-
I think I do.
Have you guys done a project with this much green space, as well as the aspect of the commercial and the sports?
Yeah, I mean, in Waco, we're redoing the whole downtown. It's 5 phases. It's 100 acres. And it's about $1.4 billion worth of public stuff. So, I mean, again, that's a 20-year journey. So when you say, have you done it? We're doing it. But the first phase is the green space.
And then, okay, hypothetically, if we go with you guys, tomorrow or whatever it is, how would the timeline be before we could get boots on the ground and start working the project? Do we have some kind of a timeline for that?
Yeah, I mean, typically these pre-development agreements, we call them E&A or exclusive negotiating agreements. Those have typically become a standard form. I mean, there's a dozen of them or more that have been executed. They're pretty much all the same. As soon as what we have to do first is get our pre-dev budget established. So we need to come to agreement on what the vision looks like, what the phases of our pre-development are, come up with a cost schedule of values that allows everybody to know every month what we're spending. That can take as little as a week or as long as a month, but somewhere between there, no longer than a month.
For the sake of time, I'm going to pass the mic on here.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Sure you want me to go?
Councilwoman, please.
I can do it last. All right. Well, thank you so much for traveling here from El Paso.
Well, I didn't come from El Paso. I came from my daughter's house in Houston.
Okay.
She came from Austin. He came from Dallas. So.
Okay, wonderful. I thought you actually spent time with Mr. Woody up there. Okay. I asked the same question to the previous presentation because they actually, they've created multi-use like this. And I feel like a project this size is diverse, right? We're looking for green space. We're looking for commercial. We're looking for a lot of things there. So I would like to know what would be some of the biggest lessons that you've learned in these projects. And if you could speak to the one at Waco, because Waco looks like it has a green space, it's got water features, it's got the shopping. What are some of those hard lessons that you've learned that you would bring to us so that we don't make those mistakes?
Yeah, so when Waco first started, what they thought they needed was a new city hall and school district administration building. That was their priority. And we spent a lot of time focusing on that. Mm-hmm. And then we realized that's not what they wanted at all. They wanted a park that could be a community asset.
Okay.
And a place for the community to gather and do all those things. So, this 90-day process, I mean, the lessons we have learned is that, and same thing with Manor. In Manor, we're doing with PGAL, so we understand sort of PGAL's processes and how they do their program studies. Like in Manor, they said they needed a 97,000-foot library city hall complex, kind of one building. And then we figured out that that's not at all what they need. Actually, what they call a library is actually more of a community senior center. And the city hall actually needed to be half the size that they were programmed to be because they were looking at 100,000 population and it only needed to be 30,000 feet. So what we ended up building was a building that will be the future city hall building of 65,000 feet or 66. We're putting both functions in there now because if we built a 65,000-foot city hall, it would be cavernous and a waste of taxpayer money. So we're merging them at first. As they grow, City Hall needs more space, they'll build a second library building. So it's those kind of things, just strategically being smarter with taxpayer money than what a simple program might tell you.
Interesting. This particular project, though, we're looking to mitigate that burden on the taxpayers and have it pay for itself. So I see where that kind of could be, for you guys, a lesson learned. Basically what you're telling me is you help them you guided them to what they really needed, not so much what they asked for.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say, these projects should always pay for themselves. That is the mission number one. If it doesn't pay for itself, we need to do something different.
And then some.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's a minimum.
Okay.
So all of our financial modeling and showing kind of how the sources and uses of revenue over time will pay for all of the things that you're investing in and be, as you say, a catalyst and a lever for other things outside of this district. I mean, understanding how TERSs would need to work over time and how the TERS can become a really powerful tool to do this, particularly with Presidio coming. I mean, that's a big tax capture that we really need to understand and engineer so that you're not cannibalizing what Presidio's doing. It's complementary, and that the tax revenue is feeding into the investments that you need it to make it all work.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Well, I've got quite a few questions, but I'm going to keep it to one. There'll be some follow-ups that I have. I'd like to understand a little bit more about how you're proposing the financing for Manor. I see for the city of Waco, it's a $1.4 billion project. $200 million of it is being issued through debt by the city in order to also recapture $15 million that they've spent out in cost. And so to the councilwoman's point, there's opportunities to do this project, but it has to not raise taxes. I know for the city of Manor, they're saying it's not raising taxes. They have a 86-cent tax rate. Ours is 56 cents. So we don't want to raise it at all. But they're looking at tacking on some additional costs to their utility bill, it seems like, to help pay for it.
Yeah, they have enterprise stuff in their geo they need to get out and clear up their geo.
Okay, gotcha. So the question I'll ask you guys tonight, my one question would be, from a project standpoint, how do you guys ensure that the vision and the final product aligns with the city's long-term vision? What are our control points in the project to make those decisions? Is that, that full responsibility, is that us and you guys are along for the ride, or would you guys, have some veto power essentially and say, no, this is our money, or we don't like what the city's going to do, we're going to say no to that?
Okay, first of all, if we're talking about infrastructure, understand, I just want to make sure that's what we're talking about, is parks and streets and roads and drainage and those kind of things.
What I'm talking about would be more of, let's say we wanted to do an outdoor amphitheater there.
Infrastructure. I mean, if it's a public asset, if it's a public use, it's infrastructure.
Public use, I would also say, we want to exercise control for private use too. People have told us they don't want more dentists, donut shops. They don't want car washes, washaterias.
Correct, yes.
Some things like that too.
Correct. Okay, so first of all, there's only three ways, as John said, there's only three ways to pay for infrastructure, anything that's public use: taxes, user fees, grants, and philanthropy. There is no other source. So what we do is figure out what is the best way to finance those revenue streams. We went through a model in Waco. We have 32 sources, and we have a finance plan for all 32 of those sources. Number one, that. Number two, all of that analysis of what, where, when, why, most importantly, why, but the how is in the strategic roadmap. So we iterate and iterate through this strategy of what, where, when, but how, until everybody's on board like, that's it. That's the best right answer for this project. Until we get everybody agreeing on that how, we don't move forward. But one of the things I cannot do is create a revenue stream that doesn't exist. Now, so if you think about this process, it's always taxpayer money. It is always your decision. My job is to put it in a strategic way so that you can understand it. And always have those milestones, those decision points of, we need to pivot, like we did in Waco. No city hall, park. We don't want you to finance it, we're going to issue debt. I mean, I offered to finance it. That was not what they wanted to do. And it's that strategic roadmap process that's so powerful. So I have another sort of, John calls it the world according to Rodney, but it's never good value for the taxpayer, for a developer to finance infrastructure long-term, or the destination is always geo-debt. It's just how you get there. So if you, for example, wanted me to come in and say, we're going to give you this development opportunity, go set up a pit or go borrow a bunch of money and do all this development and we'll pay you back, that is not good value for the taxpayer. And if you ask me to do it, I would say I'm not your person. So I know I said some complex and maybe controversial things, but I want to sort of have you tell me why you think that's not the right answer.
I'll have to think on that. I'll have to, and I think there's some opportunities for some follow-up that's there. You know, the one option that I'm very interested in is, and you're right, it's taxpayer dollars, but focusing on the sales tax component. We have, you know, what I liked about your project is that you guys obviously did your research. You recognize Presidio's coming. We have Manvel Town Center. The state collects 6.25% of our sales tax dollars. We have a car dealership coming. Car dealership already here. We can't charge sales tax on that. We have 2 car washes coming. There's no sales tax that a city collects on that. But if there's opportunities to recapture what the state has and brings that in, that's your funding right there. You form a special purpose district, you can fund it through that. So I like what you said. I like some of what you said, but that's where we have to really dive into it and have those in-depth conversations more than what 15 minutes allows.
And it changes every legislative session, right? The rules change and those guys are...
No, they're consistent every time.
So, you know, Trent Petty, who is the leading sort of TERS PID strategist in the state, I work with him on almost all of my projects. Like, I'm testifying on Wednesday at the Ledge about what they should and shouldn't do about the P3 delivery. I wrote the original statute, as I said. So, yeah, it all depends, how you capture tax and what's authorized and what's not. You know, I guess we'll see each other next June and figure out what the rules are.
We might run into each other in Austin in the springtime. But I want to pass it along to these 2 gentlemen here. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any follow-up questions?
I'll pass it on to Keith Bonner.
All right, Councilman Bonner.
My only question.
Councilman, can you unmute yourself? Thank you, sir.
Sorry. In looking at your phase time frame slide, I noticed that most of the revenue streaming that would generate the income looks like it doesn't come until phase 4, 4 to 6, and that's driven very, very much highly by mixed use, which I'm scared to death means multifamily.
So, yeah, I mean, you didn't ask a question, but I would like to explain that you have to start with the parks. You have to create the placemaking. You have to start with the infrastructure first.
And I see the fields, if we follow the vision that we've kind of had for our design, the fields can generate, and an amphitheater can generate revenue and good streams if you have the right management running that.
Right.
The hotel, all of that kind of plays in to, if that's in the first couple of phases, I can see the revenue coming. And that generates more desire for the other retail expansion.
So I've read SFA's feasibility study. I've done lots of them myself with SFA and others. I mean, those projects are a loss leader, just like a convention center. So I'm not sure what money you're seeing from the fields and all that stuff. I mean, what generates money to pay for this infrastructure is mainly that stuff on the north and Presidio. And we got to think about that as a system. But until you create a place, like a really special place that makes people want to move here and eat there and play there and do all those things, it's just going to be, unfortunately, an underperforming asset.
And that's what I said to the other group, when I am very much interested in that developer that's going to come in and try and be unique. Try and give Manvel something that nobody else has.
Exactly.
That can bring it.
Exactly.
I mean, I like some of the things you're saying about the financing. I, like the mayor, am probably never going to vote something that we know is going to drive a tax rate sky high to, I don't even want to be around if we started talking about 87 cents around Manvel. We'd all be gone.
Well,
But we have to figure out how are we creative?
so I'm going to give you a glimpse of what I'm going to say to the legislature, and it may totally tick you off, and if it does, I'm sorry. But every person that moves to the state of Texas, you should pin a $75,000 invoice on them, because that's how much infrastructure a person, a resident, requires to prosper and thrive in this state. 2/3 of that, $50,000, is paid by local government. However many people have moved here in the last 5 years, do that times 50,000, that's what your infrastructure liability is on your balance sheet today. Now, that's not raising taxes per se. What that is saying, I've got a demand for infrastructure that I need to go figure out how to fund. Otherwise, my system doesn't work, and my citizens aren't going to have the infrastructure they need to prosper and live here. So we've got this imbalance in our whole expectation that somehow taxes are a bad thing, but somehow people need to keep moving here, and we need to keep. I don't understand the equation either at the state or at local government, because it doesn't match.
That's our problem daily of everybody wants more and more and more and more, but they don't want to pay for more and more and more and more. And we fight that constantly of trying
I know you do.
to figure that balance.
You got the hardest job I know, because they want an unfunded mandate. And you know, when you look at cities that have an 87-cent tax rate, it's because they realize that you can't squeeze more juice out of this turnip. So I can do a lot of things, folks, but I cannot fix broke. Like there has to be a revenue stream to finance it. The revenue is the input. The finance is the output of this whole model and this whole process. If I can't see the input, then I can't figure out what the output is. The equation has to balance.
Councilman, any follow-ups? No. Well, Rodney, you'll get us on our soapbox here talking about how the state continues to tout growth and encourage growth.
It's
yet
insanity.
They continue to try to compress what cities can do with money.
It is.
I think we all agree we want lower taxes, but when the state is taking away zoning powers from city and the ability for cities to control their own destiny, that's not conservative. That's not local politics.
No, it's irresponsible.
That's consolidation.
It's absurd.
In Austin.
Yes.
But anyways, I'll back off of that. For now, we need to get on to our budget. So Rodney, team, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll send any follow-ups to our city manager, who will get them to you guys, and we look forward to talking more in the future. So appreciate you.
Thanks.
Our city manager will walk you out. Council, we do have to close this special workshop. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, we'll give the motion to the councilwoman. We'll give the second to Councilman Bonner. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously 5-0. We will now call to order our regular city council meeting for the workshop on May 4th at 5 p.m., but we will start it here at 5:10 p.m. What we're going to do, first item on the agenda is a mid-year budget review for fiscal year 2025-2026. Rosie is going to be presenting this item to us. So council, this item is different than the second one on the agenda. This is for the current fiscal year's budget, talking about where we're at revenue-wise, expense-wise. Do we need to make any mid-year adjustments? Once we wrap this up, we'll open it up for questions, and then we'll pivot into the projections for the actual budget planning for next year. So, Miss Rosie, the floor is yours. How are you doing tonight, Rosie?
I'm surviving.
You're surviving and thriving, right?
Yes, sir.
I love it. You and Robbie, man, you guys matched again tonight.
I know,
awesome.
and that was not intended. We didn't plan on it, because if we did, it wouldn't happen. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is our fiscal year 2025-2026 review. Like always, better together. At this point, everybody's asking, how are we doing? Can we do this? Can we do that? I'm asked question after question. Where's the status? Have we received all our revenues? Can we do more with what we have? Well, here's some of our answers. Property tax. These are our revenues. Our property tax, which is the ad valorem tax, has been collected versus the budget at 103%. Of course, this is most of the taxes we're going to collect from now till the end of the fiscal year. They just trickle in little by little. Miscellaneous tax is your sales tax. You got to remember, this one lags 2 months. So basically, we're only showing 4 months of collection, which is about a third. So we're there in the ballpark. Of course, the beginning of the year, we were going to receive less taxes, and then about January forward, we were supposed to start getting more sales tax because of one of our newest stores. So that should equal out, and we should meet our projection. The other three, franchise tax, license and permits, fines and fees, they're underperforming at the moment, and those are uncontrollable. We don't control those. We're still hoping that they'll catch up and do better. Interest, we've collected a lot more than what we had projected, but it's the way I am now allocating the sales tax. My staff is now looking at the pool cash and doing the breakdown by the different funds, not just certain funds. Other revenues, other sources, that could be grants. This year, I don't think we've had any grants. It's other donations, other things that come in gradually. We have met the budget and exceeded it at this point. According to this, we've had an increase of 17.74% in total revenues since last year. Transfers in, I just put it there so that you can see the total, what we brought in from the budget, from the fund balance this year that we've budgeted. Here you can compare last year's to this year's. The lighter baby bluish aqua is last year, and the dark blue is this year's. This tells the story. Everything has increased potentially, other than some of them slightly below. Expenditures. Expenditures are, of course, what we know as expense. Again, we have also increased our spending this year by 28.35%. These are the different departments. Most of us are within the rate range that we should be for mid-year. Some of us are slightly over, others are slightly below. But of course, some of us get a lot of the expense at the beginning of the year, and others get it towards the end of the year. I know this is a lot of information in one sheet, but I believe we will be sending out the financials for March here pretty soon. Oops, there it is. There is the different departments, again, expenditures at this time last year versus this year. And you can see which departments are the highest spending to the lower ones. And as always, we can see police expenditures are the highest, but because we believe in our safety for our public. Utility fund revenues. They are up by 19.62%. What I can tell you here, utility revenue lags behind 1 month. because, of course, you've got to finish the month before you can invoice it. So we are projected to meet our revenue there. And you can see we've also had an increase of interest because of where we were allocating interest this year.
Hey, Rosie, just one
Yes, sir.
clarification question, not to open it up too much, but when we talk about, go back one more slide, when we talk about the increase and decrease right there, is that from last fiscal year to this fiscal year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Yes, sir, sorry about that.
Year to date, okay. Gotcha. Okay,
See.
thank you.
I wanted you guys to see apples to apples, not the end of the last year versus middle of this year. And for those who like visuals, there you are, 2025 as of March 31st and 2026 as of March 31st. Expenditures, they've also increased by 29.81%. But we are within budget overall. They're at 41.15% used. Visuals again, administration, your water, and your wastewater. Fund balance calculation. You put your total budget expenses, which is at this time 20 million. You subtract the transfers out and the capital projects. Why? Because these are one-time expenditures. Transfers out. Also, if we're in the crunch time, you would cancel those transfers out to other funds because you got to operate. That would give you a net expense of 17 million. Your fund balance right now, as of March 31st, is 10,792,000. Keep in mind, that does not include any under revenue or unused expenses. To find what your reserve is, you're going to divide your net expenses by your fund balance, which puts us at a 61.27%. Days available, you're going to divide your net expenses by 365.25, giving you a daily consumption of $48,226. To get your daily days is fund balance divided by the daily expense, which gives us 224 operating days in reserve. At this point, any questions?
I'll kick us off here, Rosie.
Sure.
A few comments. This is a really good checkpoint for us and can tell the work that you and your team have done, but all of you in your different departments, your cabinets within your departments is what I'll call them. You guys have done a really good job, and I love to see this. The 61.27% within the fund balance is exciting to me. If that holds steady, we don't want to go crazy and spend that right now, but that means that we'll have an opportunity for one-time expenditures for that, potentially, coming up. And when we talk about some of our obligations that we've made throughout this year, what I keep harping on, the service credit, things like that, it gives us some money there to be able to make sure that we can cover that without having to do anything such as raising taxes and making Garrett a wet hen there. Rosie, kind of focusing overall, though, when we look at not just comparing last year to this year, but if we look at just this year, the trend of revenue and the trend of expenses, what I hear you saying is right now we're trending that we're going to have enough revenue to cover all of our expenses.
That is correct.
Do we see that we will have, within this current fiscal year's budget, additional revenue left over that's not obligated to an expense that will roll into the fund balance right now?
I would not say at this point. It's too soon.
Too soon, okay. Too soon for that, okay. What I would have here is just kind of to tout the team, tout fiscal conservatism. Where would you say, Rosie, that the team has done a good job in controlling costs so far this year that you've noticed as you've been processing all their requests? What stands out to you the most there?
Actually, it feels like we've been spending more this year than before.
Not the answer I was looking for, Rosie.
I know that, but we do try to control by, I'm pushing them to get second quotes, even if it's not required. I'm pushing them to look elsewhere to get more imagination on it. We just don't, Buy Board is not the only source out there, so they're trying to look elsewhere, different co-ops, so that helps when we're buying any kind of supplies or equipment.
That's really good. And I joke about that's not what we want to hear, because the truth is this money that you guys are spending, it's an investment in our employees, it's an investment within our community, and we want to see you guys making the investment. But I like to hear that it's not just, oh, this is the only place we have to go here, but looking to see what other opportunities are out there and ways to innovate. That's important. Based on what you're seeing today, Rosie, should we expect to see any mid-year budget adjustments come forward, let's say at our next meeting or two? Or is it too early to tell and probably need to sit on where we're at and not make any mid-year adjustments?
At this point, since I have not gotten all the numbers, I need the preliminary numbers by county, because I think most of the mid-year adjustments that we need to do are probably in personnel and staff type of things. I would hold steady until I get the TERS numbers. I got the city's preliminary numbers, but not the TERS. And as we all know, TERS takes a big chunk of revenue out of our pockets.
At what point have you historically seen us get those numbers? When should we?
Normally, I had talked to the head of the appraisal district, and they had said that they were going to get them out by today. I didn't see them, so I sent them an email reminding them right before I came over here. So hopefully within this week, I should get those numbers.
And then kind of trending that out maybe within our next 2 meetings, 3 meetings, if there's an opportunity to do some
Exactly.
adjustments, we'd see that.
Yes. At that point, I'll sit down with Dan and we can decide, because I know I've heard a lot of asks from our departments. We can figure out if we can do that mid-year.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Rosie. I appreciate that. Council, or Mayor Pro Tem, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rosie. Well, 2 things. One, stating that our revenues seem to be up, even though our expenses are up, at least the revenues are up.
Yes, sir.
Maybe the expenses will trend down. We know and the revenues is going to keep going, so that's a positive note. Out of this $10 million fund balance, I think you probably touched on it a little bit with the TERS, but that's what we have right now. And what I want to know is from now to the end of the year, what do we know is going to be coming out that's going to eat away at that $10 million? That's not showing up on our form right here.
All those expenses that have not been spent that we had asked for example, payroll, we still have 6.25 months to go. We still have, your regular operating expenses, your utilities, all that stuff still hasn't come. And then there's some major spending that comes in, maybe not at the beginning of the year, but towards the end of the year, some of the agreements that are in place.
Okay, well, don't we have, in those different departments, don't we have money set aside to cover those
Yes, sir.
things?
Yes, sir, but keep in mind this.
It's not just coming
yeah.
out of the fund balance every month?
No, sir. They're already budgeted for.
Right.
And anything that's not budgeted for, they need to go to Dan or myself to see if they have wiggle space in their budget to do that.
I see, okay.
No is an acceptable answer.
So I guess that's my trying to figure out is this 10 million, what are we going to be looking at, December 30th of this year, as far as, do we foresee a number? Like, okay, we know, 2 million is going to come out between now and then. I mean, I know there's a crystal ball, but I know you have one.
According to our budget, we're still missing about 5 million that have not come in, but we haven't spent about 8 million. So give or take 2 million might move that number one way or the other.
Okay.
Of course, also, if I don't see those revenues coming in, I slow down department spending. I ask Dan permission, and we kind of do a freeze on them and just essentials at that point.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Rosie.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And we'll go Councilwoman Sarmiento.
Hi, Rosie.
Hi.
I always love your presentations. Can you do me a favor and go back a couple slides? Let me see if I see it. It shows where the increase and decrease is per department. Right there. I think that's that one. Let's see. Can you explain why emergency management is up 844%?
We had an emergency situation. We opened up the EOC during the freeze.
Okay.
So that, and of course, they were budgeted very tightly just with the minimum, and then we had that freeze.
Okay, and we had money to be able to cover that, obviously, but we pulled it from our
Reserves.
reserves. Okay. So how much did we have budgeted for it, and how much did we actually spend?
Let me get my report real quick. I left it on the.
If I could, while she's grabbing that,
Because this is telling for if something happens during hurricane season, if we have another freeze, this is a lesson, right? Like, hey, we had this and we budget slowly for it. We might want to consider that moving forward.
Sure, that's a great point. And if you look at last year's budget where we were at 86,000 for the year, remember that was a mid-year adjustment, so we didn't have emergency management, the division for the entire year.
That's right.
So that's the big difference. It went from 86,000 budgeted to 190 budgeted.
Exactly.
Because now we have a full year's worth of salary and fringe benefits and all those kinds of
Plus her
vehicles.
supplies that she might need to run, software that she needs and stuff like that. Her
So that's why we
uniforms.
see the increase in it, but
Exactly.
it's still within the budget.
Exactly. Just like with legal, we didn't have anything last year, so there was an increase for that because legal was with admin. The same thing with the parks operation. It was the first time we set it up as an actual department separate from Parks, Public Works.
And then we see the drop of 56%, which is obviously good because it's give or take, but 56% on the animal control. And
That's
I won't
due
go
to-
there,
No, that's due to payroll lapse.
payroll lapse. So we saved some substantial money there.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have more questions, but for the sake of time, I'll give them to Dan, and then he can give them to you. All right,
Just as a
thank you.
follow-up to
Thank you
that.
for answering that.
For the emergency management side, the money that we spent out during the freeze, would that be reimbursable by the state, or we didn't hit that threshold to get the reimbursement?
It was not declared an emergency, so
Sounds
we will not get any reimbursement.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rosie. Council, any other comments or questions as it relates to this? No? So we're at a good spot. Councilman Bonner.
Will we get a copy of this? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I like what you said, Rosie, when you talked about, we're still $5 million short of revenue collection. We'll see how that trends throughout the rest of the year, but we also haven't expended $8 million.
Yes.
So if all the revenue is collected and then all the expenses are made, we would be sitting at the 61% in the fund balance.
Yes, sir.
If we made no more changes to the budget, it held true. But you hold that 61% just in case something doesn't come in or there's a sudden expense that comes out.
That's correct.
Appreciate you asking that question, Mayor Pro Tem.
As a matter of fact, we just did that in the last meeting with the parks, that we've had more expenditures than we did. That was one of the budget amendments we brought forward.
Well, I love spending money on parks. That's a very worthy investment there. Okay, so
do too.
Council Manager Dan, if you're good, we'll roll right into the next item. You ready for that, Rosie? Which is the budget planning schedule. So Council, we're going to get an overview here of what we're going to see over the next couple months for the budget. And one of the things, Rosie, I'd like to have you highlight during the presentation of this is at what point will we have initial estimates? So that way, as the department heads make their presentations, they know what their bucket is to work with.
Well, we're on May 4th right now, giving your mid-years, and then we're going to start with the presentations next council meeting. I am hoping to be able to get some kind of preliminary number, mid-June the latest. We continue with presentations at that point, but again, we'll have a better idea of what we can do. We'll get good numbers from the county at about the end of July. And that's when we'd start doing the real work.
So we'll have presentations on the 18th and on the 1st, but we won't know what our projections are at that point. But
I can have them, más o menos, a projection probably by the end of this month as far as how much the revenues are going, but maybe by the time Chief does his presentation, as long as the rate holds steady and the debt service rate holds steady, I can get an approximation of how much we should be increasing or decreasing.
yeah, I think that's where I go. The reason why this is so important for me is I want to see us as council set up the department heads for success when they come and make those asks, that they can say, here's what our realistic ask is based off of what the projections have for us. But then council, if you find more money or if you do different decisions, then here's what would come next. So here's like, in a sense, they're all needs, but here's needs priority 1 that we can do, that we're going to ask you to do, and then here's the needs priority 2. And And then that allows us, as we make decisions, and to be able to see what they have.
Okay.
I do see on here for May 4th, audit results, and we don't have an item on our agenda for the audit. Dan, Rosie, do you guys have an update on where we're at regarding the audit?
This morning, I went ahead and approved the depreciation schedule, so it's back in the court for the auditors. They're hoping to get the numbers up to national sometime this week, which, depending on national, how long it takes them to get back. I was trying to push for them to have them ready by May 18th, but I understand that our auditors will be on site somewhere else that week. So probably the first week of June.
Okay. And is that based on the state law from last year that was passed? Does this have any ramifications on what is going to be presented to us budget-wise?
It is very unclear right now. We've met, well, I've gone to 2 or 3 different conferences, and no one knows what's going to happen.
Okay. Okay. So council, I would encourage you guys, follow up with Manager Dan. There was a state bill that was passed last year that really much shifted how cities do their audits and then how that impacts your budget based off of your audit acceptance. But unfortunately, the state had some ambiguity in their language about what the actual ramifications are and the timing of everything. So I know Dan, Rosie, the team, Bobby, they've all been looking at it, Tammy too, to try to figure out, what the path forward is there.
And this was brought up in the GFOAT conference. This was brought up in the budget conference. There's been a lot of talk about it. No one knows. No one knows even the definition of an audit for sure, whether it's an accepted audit or not an audit, complete audit, or if an employee can audit the books and say, hey, it looks good, let's go forward with this. No one can tell us a complete definition. I can tell you that GFOAT is going back to Congress to try to change that, to make it more clear, and maybe extend the deadline a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good. Last question here, Manager Dan, since Chief stepped out on the May 18th meeting. That's when we'll not only be getting their presentation for their budget, but also that's when we'll be getting like a public safety address update that Mayor Pro Tem Lanz has asked for every year.
Yep, that's exactly right. In fact, he's had that presentation ready for a couple of weeks. We were waiting to get the results back from our efficiency audit, which we have those now. So it's allowing him to tweak things a little bit. And we really wanted to, since we were so close, let's just hit the ground running with this being the sort of the budget kickoff. And that way, the next meeting, Chief can kind of do what Rosie just did, kind of a glance of where we're at mid-year, and then also start talking about the next steps.
Sounds good. Well, I'm glad we volunteered Chief to do all of that for us. So he just, as he's walking back,
It's definitely better than me.
All right, Council, any comments or questions for Rosie, Manager Dan, as it relates to the budget schedule and timeline? All right. Thank you, Rosie. Appreciate the work and appreciate the overview.
You're welcome.
Council, we've had a very full hour and a half. What I would like to recommend, if you're good with it, we take a 30-minute or so recess and reconvene at 6 o'clock. How does that sound?
30 minutes?
We got 25 minutes. Council, does that work for you guys? All right, so we'll step away from this workshop session and we'll be back at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We will now call this regular session of the Manvel City Council meeting to order on May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you all. We have 6, I know. Geez, I made a post online. My dad decided to dress up as Darth Vader and ride the wakeboard this weekend and take a photo. So he had fun with that. So we have 6 of 7 members present. Councilman Oplager is not going to be able to make it tonight. He had an injury with his eye, and so please keep him in your thoughts and prayers there. We will now move on to the invocation, and for the invocation tonight, we have Miss Dania Moreno that will be leading us in the invocations. Dania. That's it. Dania Moreno. I knew I was going to mess that up.
It's okay. It happens. Well, good evening, everyone. If you can please bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to gather and serve our community. We ask for your wisdom, clarity, and unity as we make decisions, and that everything done here today be for the good of all people. Guide our leaders with integrity and compassion, and help us to work together with respect and purpose. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Next, we have the inspirational reading from our Mayor Pro Tem, David Lands.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, what I have is several different quotes, short quotes, but people that we all familiar with. These quotes, they relate to personal aspiration, achievement, self-worth, and awareness. First one, there is nothing impossible to him who will try, and that's by Alexander the Great. Bill Nye, the science guy, once said, "Everyone that you will ever meet knows something that you don't, and this is troubling to many of us know-it-alls." Never be the brightest person in the room, then you can't learn anything. That's James Watson, the molecular DNA biologist. Henry Ford was quoted as saying, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Work like there is someone working 24 hours a day to take it away from you. Mark Cuban. Robert Kiyosaki, the founder of Rich Global LLC, stated, "Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning." Celebrate your successes by finding some humor in your failures. That was by Sam Walton. And lastly, faith. Faith is taking that first step even when you do not see the whole staircase. And that's by Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. If you can, please stand and join me in saying the pledges. First to the U.S. flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, Council, if you guys can join me around in the front here, we got a few recognitions, proclamations to give out. Testing. All right. So the first recognition that we have tonight is the naming of a building. If you guys have not been by to see our new police station, we have named that the Keith Traylor Criminal Justice Center. Now trailers are gone, and so we now have repurposed the building, and we have declared that as the building for our fire marshal's office. So we're going to invite our fire marshal to come forward now as well, if you can come up here, Shauna. And we like to name buildings after people that have, they've left an indelible mark upon our community. They are a part of our history, and it's important that we remember where we've been to know where we're going. And so we decided to name our new fire marshal's office the C.L. McDaniel Building. This is something that was decided after a committee took a look at it, and C.L. McDaniel was the city's first ever marshal, voted in place in the early 1960s. Now, we weren't initially able to find if there were any relatives of C.L. McDaniel that lived in the area. One day, Councilman Harry Oplager is walking through Lowe's with his lovely wife, and his lovely wife starts talking with, I believe you guys went together in ninth grade? In high school. They starts talking with someone that she went to high school with, and all of a sudden, he hears the name C.L. McDaniel come up. And then, let's just say, in the fashion of Councilman Oplager, and his ears perk up. And starts talking and starts the connection, and we are so excited to have family members for C.L. McDaniel here. And we have a plaque that we are going to present them to commemorate the naming of the building. So if you guys could please come forward, and I want to give you an opportunity to speak, and thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. So if you guys can tell us a little bit about Mr. CL here, and then we'll have the team take a photo of us.
Very briefly, I'm sorry. Okay, I don't do well talking, but okay. This is a great honor, and thank you for dedicating this to him. It's just a great honor to accept this dedication for him. I am his stepdaughter. I came into his life in 1974, but prior to that, he had a lot of history here. He came to live in Manvel in, he was early 20s. He had been hired by the Texas Department of Corrections as an athletic director. He played basketball in high school, so he loved basketball, and he was an athletic director. He served 30 years with TDC at Ramsey and Darrington, which brought him to the community of Manvel. And he bought the property at the corner of Del Bello Road and FM 1128. It was a little white house, and after adding on, you know, it's a bigger house now, and it's a big property. He served in the Army. He served his community. He has many friends here, and he is known to his friends and neighbors as Mac, or Big Mac, or Mac Daniel. That's what everybody knows him as, Big Mac. And Marvin Booth was his best friend. They did cows together, and he loved his cows and all that. But in 1983, a little bit more, and then I'll let you go. In 1983, when he retired, he had about 6 months, and then I had my first child. And he said, let me just keep her for a few weeks till he finds somebody. And that turned into 11 years. And he cared for my 2 daughters. This is one, Holly, and there's an older one, Michelle. And this man, who never had any biological children of his own, nurtured and cared for them for the next 11 years till he passed. And he's just a wonderful man. He had a great sense of humor. And we love him, and we don't want him to be forgotten, so this is great. He won't be forgotten. And we thank you, council members, mayor, and Harry. It was special. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's group together council for a photo. Do we have someone to take a photo? Oh, you're doing it tonight. Okay, awesome. And then Marianne, I think you were on the naming committee, right? Yes, sir. Okay, if you want to come up, I would love to have you join us in this photo here. All right. So next, we have recognition for our very own Miss Megan. Is she in here? Ah, there she is. She was hiding in the back. So Megan, if you want to come forward, Tammy, I'll have you come forward here and introduce what this recognition is for. All right, so we have some students with us here tonight. These are members of our Manvel Teen Court. They were selected this past spring to be on our state competition team. For the past 3 years, the students that have gone to state have represented Manvel incredibly well, and they ended up getting third place this year at the state competition. I believe from first to third place, there was only 5 points. 4 points that were separating first from third place. So they represented all of us in this room, the entire Manvel community very well. These are members that have either done, 4 or 5 years in the teen court and a first-year member of the teen court as well. And so I'm going to have them come forward here. We have with us tonight Arhan. Come forward, Arhan. Let's give him a round of applause. We have Miss Michelle with us tonight. Michelle, come forward. And then we also have Mr. Dylan with us tonight. Dylan, if you want to come forward. We are proud of you guys. Congratulations on third place. How many teams were there this year? There were 12 teams, and they got third place out of 12 teams. So a big Manvel hoka-hey to that. And with that, we have Tammy, who's going to give us a little bit of a speech that she's prepared about Megan, about these 3 bright young individuals and the Manvel Teen Court.
So first off, when Arhan started, he was my height. And so you can see he's changed a lot since then. So the teen court had their banquet last week, and my goodness, there were probably 30 students in attendance with their families. And not sure if anyone here is familiar with what that process is, but teen court is a real court. It's not something we're obligated to do. It's something that a few years back, Megan and her team decided to take on. The system isn't set up for kids, good kids, to make a stupid decision. And when they do and they get a ticket, it goes on their record. Their parents typically have to pay it. If they're young men, already their insurance is high, and that obviously carries over. So with that, on the teen court process, these students can come in with their ticket, and then we have other students that are acting as our prosecutors, our defense attorneys, our judges, our bailiffs, and then we have a real judge that comes in. But the students actually determine what the punishment's going to be, what the situation's going to be. It keeps it off of the student's ticket or off their record. So we're the only city in Brazoria County that does this. And not only does it teach young people about the process, it teaches people that got tickets. They have to serve as a juror, so that's part of their I say punishment, but part of what they have to do. Could be 1 jury or 3, and so they have to participate in the program somewhat as well. It is an amazing program. Again, it's not their ticket cost gets knocked down to $25 to participate in it, and it stays off their record. So the fact that Manvel not only helps the students to learn, the ones that got tickets, but also the families, and this doesn't carry with them forward. So with that, Megan, really wanted to recognize you for showing up and being the kind of leader that was willing to take on the extra work and all the responsibility that comes with managing all of the students for their monthly court time. So there's probably upwards of 60 students in here on a Thursday evening working through the process. They have dinner, they go through the different dockets, different students have different roles throughout the dockets, and Megan and her team organizes all of that. So this isn't just another initiative, it's one of a kind. And I don't want to get all teary-eyed, so I'm just going to say thank you. So this is just a plaque recognizing the diamond that you are to our city and to the families that bring these students out to be able to save their children from tickets. So thank you. And Arhan, since you've been with us for so long, you want to say just 2 words about the program as well?
So yeah, Ms. Bell pretty much summarized it. That's teen court. We come over here and we do real teenage cases for about Class C misdemeanors. All of us are either prosecutors or defendants on those cases. The jury is also made up of teenagers. The judge is a real judge, but we essentially prepare for those cases and debate for them to decide their punishment at that time. And it's really, I've been in the program for 5 years, so it's helped me do really well. I've improved some of my speaking skills and all that stuff. I believe it's Dylan's first year. Michelle has also been here since the start. And we really love the program. But I think the one who really drives this program is Ms. Cavazos. And she's the one organizing everything every single time. She's assigning the cases. She's assigning us to dockets. She's organizing even that banquet. Everything is because of Ms. Cavazos' effort. And we all have to thank her a lot for the effort that she puts in for teen court.
So I'll say, I can't do it without them. Especially Arhan and Michelle. They were in it since the beginning, and I have no words, but these kids do so much. They sacrifice so much for this program, and I appreciate them. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan. We appreciate you. We appreciate all that you do, not just for the teen court, but our entire city. And you guys would be surprised to learn that Arhan was extremely shy, did not like public speaking when he first joined, and look at him now. I'm hoping next year we can get Councilwoman Sarmiento's daughter in the program too. Maybe she'll sign up. She does not lack confidence in public speaking, so she does not. So Tam, you got to come back around for a photo. You can't escape that quickly. So let's have the 4 of you guys squeeze in right here, scoot in. Council, if you guys want to fill in behind, Tammy, we'll have you on that side, and I'll be in right here.
Congratulations.
All right. Have a few more proclamations. So next we have a proclamation for Hurricane Preparedness Week. Ms. Jamie was not able to be here tonight, but this proclamation does state, and it encourages our citizens to sign up for STEER, which is the State of Texas Emergency Assistance Registry. Look for hurricane evacuation routes, preparedness guides. Make sure to sign up for the Ready Brazoria County app. And Hurricane Preparedness Week is the week of May 3rd to May 9th. And I encourage all residents to utilize available resources, develop personal preparedness plans, and take necessary precautions to protect their families, homes, and community. So if our Director of Public Safety, Chief Keith Traylor, will come forward and accept this, we'll take a photo with it. Chief, if you want to just stay up here, we got you for two in a row. So next, we have a proclamation that is recognizing National Police Week, May 10th through May 16th. May 15th is actually designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day. It's in honor of all of our fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags will be flown here in Manvel and across the United States at half-staff for that day. Our police officers, we're going to have them come forward here in a minute. They are the ones that when the worst comes to worst, when push comes to shove, they show up. They leave their families, they put on their uniforms, put on their vests, they show up each day to serve our community. Many times they meet us in our lowest moments, and sometimes they meet us in moments where we don't give them the best versions of ourselves, but they still show up, they still put a smile on their face as best as they can in the situations that they experience and serve our community. So I know on behalf of council and I and our entire community, we thank you guys for what you do. We support you, and we can't wait to see what each of you accomplish in your own personal careers as you continue to move forward. So if you guys will come forward, let's give them a round of applause as they come forward. So before we take a photo here, we want to give one of our officers an opportunity to speak. And so I'm going to call on Mr. Austin Livingston to say a few words for us.
Me? Here. That's all you. Come on.
Talk about your time.
Well, so I've been here with City Manvel for almost 5 years now. Started out here only probably 6 months as an officer. Obviously been here since then. I'm part of our traffic unit now.
What would you say is the number one thing you've learned during your time here?
Chief's a great guy. Probably self-confidence. I didn't come here with a lot of confidence at all, and I really had to work to gain that. So that was hard, but a lot of these people here helped me with that. Chief, Captain, A Chief here specifically. So they've been a big help, a lot of mentors. Learned a lot overall, so. Anybody else? No?
All right, so let's, Chief, we'll get you in the middle here. We'll have you hold this proclamation. We'll take a photo. They did turn the heat on. They convinced Tammy to turn the heat on. We're talking about how it's cold. All right. Let's give them a moment to clear out here, and then we'll continue on. Appreciate you guys. Next, we have National Public Works Week. So, Robbie, if you want to come around here, let's give Mr. Robbie a round of applause and his team. What I've learned about Public Works over the years is their job varies day over day. One day they can be reinforcing a sidewalk that's catching water, to mowing ditches, to filling potholes, to handling, a broken main line, to helping fix a light and fire hydrants. And every day it's something new. But you guys work extremely hard in all conditions: snow, rain, heat. Hopefully not hail. You guys stay out. Yeah, you run fast. But we appreciate what you guys do. Many times, the work that you guys do in Public Works goes unnoticed. You see a lot of times cities and communities, they celebrate police officers, rightfully so, but you guys are a big aspect of public safety too. You guys keep the water flowing, you keep wastewater moving, you make sure utilities are going. If we don't have safe streets, then we can't have fast response times. And I know our own Mayor Pro Tem Lands over here celebrates you guys. You guys have a special place in his heart. And this recognition for National Public Works Week is on behalf of me and entire City Council. So thank you guys for all that you do. And this year's theme is Rooted in Service, Powered by Community. It recognizes that public works professionals form the foundation of thriving communities through both visible projects, but also through collectively supporting safety, connectivity, and quality of life for all residents that they serve. Many times it's invisible projects. So National Public Works Week is May 17th through 23rd, and I urge all of our citizens to join representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in celebrating you guys for all that you do. So, Robbie, you got to say a few words here as well. So come on forward here.
was going to say the same thing he just said, but it was he just took it. No, we really enjoy this moment because this is the time that we get to shine a little bit. Because a lot of times, a lot of people don't know what we do until they can't flush their toilets or can't drive on the roads. That's what they call public works. But thank you, Mayor.
We're getting pretty good at this, council. We're effective with it now. It took us 3 years, but we got there. Do we have anyone out for our EMS that's here tonight, our EMS services? So we'll find a time to get this over to them, deliver it to them. But May 17th through 23rd is Emergency Medical Services Week. The theme of this week's 52nd anniversary is Improving Outcomes Together, reflecting the shared commitment of emergency medical services professionals to delivering high-quality care and improving outcomes for all. A personal story, one of our neighbors had a situation with her son who he started to have a seizure. He's going through a lot of health problems, and that caused her, as she's older, to have an anxiety attack. Our officers were called, EMS was called, they quickly got out there, and the professionalism that they displayed, the grace, the sensitivity that they displayed as well helped ease the situation, calm fears, and they worked diligently to make sure that her son and her got the care that they need. So it is my honor to recognize this week, May 17th through 23rd, as Emergency Medical Services Week in the city of Manvel. We've got two more here, and for this one, we will have our city manager come around for this one. This is Flood Awareness Week, and our city manager, Dan Johnson, is also still our floodplain administrator. But I think you might have some help doing a little bit now, and he'll explain that to us. But Flood Awareness Week in Manvel, as we know, we're flat areas flood, and we're constantly looking for ways through partnerships in the community and outside the community to improve our drainage and make sure that homes and properties do not flood. So Dan, can you talk to us a little bit about this week?
Sure, and I'll go back in time just a little bit. So in October of 1998, there was a tremendous flood in San Antonio where I grew up, and my grandparents lost everything that they owned. And if you ever lived through floodwaters, true floodwaters, it's not just like the beach water, just kind of nicely clean water coming through. It's disgusting and muddy, and every Mother's Day card and everything that you've ever held dear is lost in an instant. So immediately after that, I moved, or shortly after that rather, I moved to the Friendswood area and worked for the city there. And then we had Tropical Storm Allison in June of 2001. So I was starting to think that they were following me or chasing me, but so far, we did have Hurricane Harvey. We've had some really crazy events here, but Mayor Martin and I actually met way back when at a floodplain manager training, funny enough. And so we put together the first flood damage prevention ordinance for the city back in 2008. And it was a tough thing for people to all of a sudden be told, hey, this is going to be a good thing. Ultimately, it's going to be tough, but for the long term, best use and for your safety, it's going to be a good thing. And so once we sort of held our ground, and our councils ever since have held tight to the flood damage prevention ordinance that we have. All this time, like the mayor said, I've been the only certified floodplain manager on staff, but now I'm excited. We have two others, right, Joe's, and we've got a couple other people that are working on theirs. So Texas Floodplain Manager Association is a great organization. That's where the turnaround, don't drown, that's where that came from, is through our organization. So we're very fortunate in Manvel that we don't have a lot of structural flooding. We get flooding in the streets, we get flooding in our front yards and our backyards, and of course in the bayous. But that's kind of where God intended it for it to go. We don't want it in the house. So when it comes to flood awareness, I guess what we're talking about is know where those areas are, especially Mustang and Chocolate. Know where the high waters areas are. If you see something, you see a culvert that's broken or blocked up, you see limbs down in a ditch or something, call Public Works so we can get out there and get that stuff removed. We've got equipment, we've got people, we've got hands, and we want to keep those areas clean. If it's something in the ditch, then we can get with the drainage district and get them to help us. So really this week is about just being aware of those. We're we're already almost time for hurricane season again. So now's the time to just help us be the eyes and ears out to keep us all safe in Manvel.
Thank you, Dan. So we're going to have Joe's come forward for this photo as well. I think this is the first time you get to join us as a floodplain administrator. So let's give Joe's a round of applause. I'll give this to the two of you guys. And you guys are matching as well. Robbie and Rosie are matching. You guys are matching. Yeah, you guys. Oh, who else? Who else is a floodplain administrator in the city? Okay, all right. So just the two of you right now. Okay, who else is getting it? Going through the process.
Robbie's working on it.
Robbie's working on it. All right, next year you got to pass that test, and then you can join us for this photo. Okay. All right. So we'll have the two of you in the middle here, and then council around the outside. We have one more. So this proclamation is for Mental Health Awareness Month. The month of May 2026 is Mental Health Awareness Month. And this is a proclamation recognizing for us and also appreciating the dedication of mental health individuals, professionals, nonprofits, advocates, first responders, educators, and family members. And we actually have two individuals with us tonight from Counseling Connection. So if they can come forward, let's give them a round of applause. Thank them for what they do. I'm going to have Ms. Dawn say a few words with us here, but on a personal note, this past Saturday I attended a panel, and during the panel there were seniors graduating from high school presenting their thesis, and they had to explain their thesis to us. And a reoccurring theme in the theses that I was a part of was mental health and how social media and technology, mental health issues have always been there, but it's further amplified. It's like the jet fuel to mental health challenges. And it's something that you don't know what people are going through. You don't know the challenges that they're facing, emotional, spiritual, mental, physical. But you guys are there for them. You guys are there to help them through that, just like our police officers are there when the worst comes to worst. You guys are there as well. So we appreciate what you do and the impact that you make in people's lives. So Dawn, can you tell us a little bit about Counseling Connections?
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, council members, for doing this. This is our first time in Manvel. As the city is expanding, we're very grateful to be able to be here. We have been a nonprofit since 2013, and prior to that, we were a private practice. So we converted over. We've served all of Brazoria County since 2007. And then when we saw the need for underinsured or uninsured individuals, we converted over to a nonprofit at that point. Since that time, we've served over 5,600 individuals from our county. Over 75,000 services have been provided. And what I think is most remarkable that most people don't realize is because there is such a high need for mental health care and access to that care, 41% of our entire budget is either free or extremely reduced rates. And so during the month of May, we get to come together and we get to highlight how important it is to check in on your neighbors. We all have somebody that we know who struggles. It's part of the life that we live in, and highlighting what you're talking about with adolescents. More than 50% of our clients are under the age of 18. So we love to do what we can do in the community, but we could not do it without support from stakeholders and community members. So thank you all for allowing us to be here.
So this is the last photo for us tonight. So let's squeeze in here. We'll take a photo. All right, thank you, everyone. Next, we have a public hearing, but staff is going to give us a presentation on this public hearing first. So, Joe's, we will turn this over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This first item is regarding text amendment to our zoning ordinance. The purpose of the requested text amendment is to reflect recently adopted House Bill 24 to our ordinance. The House Bill deals with the process of rezoning and zoning change within the cities. Two important changes that you would see is like we've added a definition for proposed comprehensive zoning change, which is defined in the House
Hey,
Bill.
Joe's, this looks like it is a public hearing regarding the County Road 58 property.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
So this first public hearing is pertaining to a rezoning request that we've received from Mr. George Collins. The subject site is currently zoned SFR, single-family residential, and we have the requested zoning changes for light commercial, which allows for commercial uses. The subject site is about, give me 1 second, please. I'm trying to get the file in order. The subject site is located at 3404 County Road 58, also known as Croy Road. This subject site was previously proposed for a rezoning, but it did not go through. The applicant withdrew the application. It's located at the edge of our city limits. Across the street, we have Pomona, and around the area, there are other properties which are zoned commercial, which have a commercial use. The property to the south of the subject site, we have a master plan residential community with about 50-foot wide lots, and the subject site is along a major thoroughfare which supports the location of the commercial use, and staff is recommending approval of this request from zoning change from single-family residential to light commercial. Planning and Zoning Commission also reviewed this application, and they're forwarding a positive recommendation of approval.
All right, thank you, Joe's. So I will read the public hearing, open it up to anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing, and if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. We'll have you come forward, state your name and address for the record. So this is a public hearing to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by hanging the zoning classification of a certain tract of land being 19.99 acres located at 3404 County Road 58, PID 168084, being tracts 16F and 16G of Section 75 of the H&TC Railroad Company Survey, Abstract 299, Brazoria County, Texas, from single-family residential district to light commercial district, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. We will open the public hearing at 6:41 p.m. Do we have anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing? That's the first call. We'll do a second call and a third call. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:41 p.m. It looks like we have a second public hearing item regarding the expiration and revocation of a SUP. Bobby?
As y'all may or may not know, Halterman Carless, that owns the chemical plant on Highway 6 right when you enter the city limits, sold the property recently to Maverick Energy. Maverick Energy is going to use it for a slightly different use. They're going to make use of the rail spur, which we always thought was a unique part of that property that was underutilized. So they're going to be making good use of that and more of a storage and rail kind of a business rather than the chemical plant. There's a SUP over the property which was amended several times to try to suit HCS's desire of how they wanted to develop the property. There were some certain obligations they had to do as part of that SUP that they never got around to doing. So technically, council can revoke the SUP because the prior company didn't do what they were supposed to do. And talking to Maverick, they're saying that's absolutely fine with us because we weren't going to do any of that anyway, and all of the benefits and conditions really don't affect us. It's better for us just to default to the regular underlying zoning. So it's actually on for revoking their SUP, but it's really a voluntary revocation because they're okay with it. Staff is okay with it, and we're happy to recommend it, and it's just going to go to the underlying zoning. So all of the special conditions that have been amended several times that were only really pertaining to HCS won't apply to the property, and it'll just be the regular zoning. And I think Mr. Monroe here from the company is here to address any council questions on that.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. So I will now read out the public hearing and we'll open it up. This is a public hearing regarding the expiration and revocation of the specific use permit granted in Ordinance 2026-0-26 for the property located at 22102 Highway 6, Manvel, Texas 77578 at the request of the new owner, Maverick Energy Park, LLC. I'll do the first call for anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing. Yes, if you could please come state your name and address for the record.
My name's Heidi Zemer, 21226 Creek Road. I guess we're not allowed to ask questions about it. It's right kind of across the street, and we've always had concerns about all the chemicals there. So just know that those of us who live right across the street on the other side of Highway 6, we're always concerned about that industrial site not getting a lot of chemicals that could catch fire, explode, et cetera, as happens. So just wanted to express that concern. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heidi. We'll do a second call for anybody wishing to speak on the subject of this public hearing, and a third call. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:44 p.m. And now we will move to public comment cards. The first one that we have signed up is Ms. Moreno again. So thank you for being here tonight. If you can just come and state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, council members and everybody in the community. My name is Dania Moreno. I'm the marketing director for Keating Toyota, and I am not a resident of Manvel, but I do work for the community of Manvel. And today I'm just here because I wanted to personally invite everyone. We are having an event. It's called Community and Caffeine. And what we're trying to do, my goal when I planned this event is to bring the community together. We're participating with the 3 main chambers in our area, which is the Manvel Alvin, or now called the Northern Brazoria County Chamber, the Pearland Chamber, and also the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So I think it's a great opportunity for our city council members and our community and our business community to get together under one roof. And just, since now we're talking a lot about uniting our communities, I think this will be a great event to do so. We are located on 4233 Del Vela Boulevard. And I just wanted to let the community know, if you ever need anything, I'm the person who you go to for sponsorships and for anything. We have a conference room also that we offer to the community totally free, where you can have your meetings and anything you need to do for different organizations. We have the Girl Scouts there sometimes. So I just enjoy giving back to the community, and that's why I love about my job. So I will really appreciate, and I would love to see if we can, all of the city council members, but I know everybody's busy running the city. So, but yeah, it'll be an honor for us to have you there. So if you have any questions, please, you can reach out to me there at Keating or on Facebook. And just glad to be here and to be giving back to the community. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight. We all love coffee and caffeine here in Manvel. There'll be plenty of carbs too. Carbs and cars, right?
Yes.
Carbs and cars. What was the date?
It's June 3rd.
June 3rd. Okay, thank you so much. Next public comment we have is from Miss Julia Herzog. Miss Julia, if you could just come forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes, and the floor is yours. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening. I'm Julia Herzog with Metaplay and Design. I am just here to voice my support for the comp plan changes, which I guess will be discussed later this evening. But we have a client that has a property off of Oilfield Road, and on behalf of our client, we just wanted to say we're in support of the change to a collector road from Belcher to Oilfield, and then the deletion of Markham Road between Highway 6 and Belcher.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here tonight. Tammy, do we have any other public comment cards submitted? No? Okay. We will now move on to our Development Services staff update from Mr. Joes.
I hope this time I don't mix my papers up. So in your packet, we've included a quick note, including showing some of the recent discussions we've had on our pre-development meetings. We've had a meeting with In-N-Out Burger, who wants to get within the Manvel Town Center. There was a restaurant user that was looking at doing their due diligence meeting for upcoming Presidio PUD location. We had a doctor's office who did another follow-up meeting with us on Highway 6 for their doctor's office, and an SUP has already been approved for that use. We've had another group that met with us to discuss the possibility of doing an event center here right behind the daycare we have on Masters Road, between Large and Lewis, I believe. So it's a I think 5-acre tract that we have there. We've listed some of the new businesses and also some of the renewals on certificate of occupancies. We had some of the clubhouse buildings within Valencia that received their certificate of occupancy. In terms of commercial construction, Almeida Well received their permit, so you may have already seen their construction happening there. There was a Pomona's retail building that it's on Pomona Parkway. It's in our ETJ that received their green light for their construction. And Redeemer Church is working on their education building, and their permit has been approved. And in a little bit, we'll have the second reading for a comprehensive plan update.
Great, thank you, Joes. Would it be possible to get that sheet emailed out to us so all of us could have our hands on that?
I'll do that.
Perfect, thank you, Joes. And then also for future agenda packets, when we have a development services update, if we could get a page of that printed out and put in the agenda with us, just have a physical copy. I know some of us like that.
We'll do that.
Awesome, thank you so much, Joes. All right, City Manager update. Dan, we'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to what Joe's just talked about, I wanted to give you a couple of updates. Actually, Robbie's going to give you a couple updates here in a second. First off, I want to let you know, as far as our the part 2 of the $50 million certificate of obligation that we went out for, we commonly call that the $10 million portion. So if you recall, phase 1 was the first phase, and that was converting the gravel roads to asphalt. There were 8 roads specifically that were identified that needed to be converted from gravel to asphalt. And then council also added some improvements to the Iowa Lane Bridge, which is under construction right now, the future expansion or improvements of the Patterson Bridge, the crash cushion. There were some other individual things. Anyway, moral to the story is phase 1 is now complete, right, Robbie? Phase 2 was 20 different asphalt roads that needed repairs according to our study from Fugro, and all 20 of those roads have been repaired. So, right, Robbie? Phase 3, that's where we've got the sidewalks that we keep talking about, the 5 sidewalks, and then the left turn lane at Newport Lake Estates and the traffic signal at Croy and Rodeo Drive. Sidewalks are still, one of them is designed. We're going to have to go out for bids on those. So actually we're having the other 4 designed, and I think we're going to do a design package to go out to the contractors. But the left turn lane at Newport Lake Estates, Robbie, that opens tomorrow in the morning. So if you hadn't seen it, so it got striped and everything. So that's very exciting. We're going to be soliciting bids probably for the traffic signal next. So really, and then phase 4 was the different pieces of equipment that we talked about during the budget year when we kind of all got creative on how to get those things across the finish line. That was the Almost Heaven walking trail, the skid steer, the dump truck, and the side-by-side. So all of those have been purchased. So we are nearing completion. Completion is in sight. And Robbie wanted to talk about a couple other things, if you're ready, Robbie.
So we will be having the Public Works picnic on May 20th. So we will be participating in the cook-off. The Manvel cookers is what we call in Public Works. So hopefully we get to bring home a first place trophy. We'll keep you updated. What was the other day?
Ribbon cutting?
Oh, yeah, the ribbon cutting. Yeah, that's what it was. June 17th. We're going to be doing the ribbon cutting for the Public Works building at 10 o'clock, right? Yeah. 10 a.m., yeah. So, very exciting.
Awesome. If we could get a calendar invite sent out for that, that'd be great. And Robbie, tell them to make extra meat so that way they can bring some for us. So
I sure will.
We can try it, all right?
I will do.
All right. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Dan, for the update. Council, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Before comments and questions, just a call out. When we make a motion, I'll make it just to include for item number 4, just to call out that there is a condition on it. Instead of it just being a straight approval, there is a condition there. But any comments and/or questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the inclusion of the condition for item number 4. Do I have a second? We have a second from Councilwoman Roby Robinson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you, everyone. All right, no items removed from consent agenda. We'll move on to regular agenda item number 1, consideration and possible action to approve a declaration that the specific use permit granted in ordinance 2026-0-26 for the property located at 22102 Highway 6, Manvel, Texas 77578 is expired and revoked at the request of the new owner, Maverick Energy Park LLC, MEP. We received a presentation during our public hearing portion regarding this agenda item. Dan, Joe, just one brief question. Maverick Energy Park, they're using it for the rail, and we do have the applicant here. What type of energy will you be producing? What product are you going to be shipping that using the rail is so important for you guys, and why is the revocation of this SUP necessary in order for you guys to operate on that property?
So really, it's to do with the current SUP expired in 2023, so it's really to put a kind of line under that and just revert back to the previous commercial use that the site was kind of permitted for. What we've been looking for is kind of a site on the south side of Houston, really to just do transloading. So a lot of kind of just bulk coming in by rail. So that could be anything from brake fluids, kind of glycols, and then kind of just down packing them into drums. We are looking at potentially, like a white room for food, where you could bring that in a rail and then package that kind of product. So it's going to be a lot of, individual warehousing, really just to do transloading in the area. What we're not planning on doing is using any of the actual chemical towers or the distillation units that were on the site previously. We'll use the goods storage tanks, kind of the stainless work that's there, maybe some of the boilers, but really it's the land with the rail terminal is what we're interested in. That's why we don't need a special use permit.
And Dan, Joe's, what they're looking to do would be allowed outright within light commercial?
Heavy commercial.
Heavy commercial, and it's currently zoned as heavy commercial?
It is currently zoned heavy commercial.
As heavy commercial.
And one of the uses that was allowed as part of that SUP was chemical manufacturing, which they are not doing, so that land use is something not something that they're looking for.
Okay. And excuse my ignorance here, but if the SUP is expired, why is this even on our agenda? Why do we have to go through this?
Well, the SUP says that they have to do certain things, and at the end of the ordinance, it says if they don't, then council, after public hearing, notice and public hearing, can basically terminate the SUP. So that's what you're doing now, HCS didn't fulfill what they were going to do anyway, but since they were selling it, we were kind of waiting to see what was going to replace it, to see if they needed any of those SUP conditions and to get it renewed, because HCS had actually got it renewed several times throughout their tenure.
So what would happen if we said no tonight?
You have an SUP over the property that's in default, in violation, that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, which was, build another building. They did do the fencing. That white fence along there wasn't there originally, so they did do that, and a couple other things like that. And then they were allowed to have the temporary building, the office building, the trailer against our ordinances, so the SUP allowed them to do that. And if the SUP goes away, that has to be removed, and they're fine with that.
So if we said no to this, could they, if we wanted to keep the SUP on the property, could they still move forward with their project?
Yes, I think they could.
Okay.
It would just be that they have certain uses that are allowed that are specified, and I don't know if the uses they want to do are one of the 4 or 5 uses that were specified in the SUP. Joe's might recall offhand.
So the use that is specified in the SUP is not something that they're trying to do. What they're doing is something that is outrightly allowed in the zoning ordinance.
So this is me learning as well. I've been in office 6 years now. I haven't seen something like this come forward. My understanding is that an SUP is just, it's allowing certain things on the property that aren't allowed outright by the zoning. And so if they're wanting to do something within the zoning altogether, why do we even care about the SUP? Why is the SUP even an issue?
The SUP allows certain conditions that if you design that SUP to allow a use that's not typically allowed, you can have certain conditions to make it ameliorate the effects of that on the neighboring zoned properties. Like, for instance, a church. If we do an SUP on the church, a lot of times the condition will be they have to have a traffic plan or do some sort of traffic study. So that typically we might not allow a church outright, but if you can show us that you're going to properly manage the traffic and agree to that condition in the SUP, then you can have the church. Same here, there were a lot of conditions in the SUP that changed over time to basically allow them to expand the business, because originally they were operating before zoning was even there. So they did rezone properly to HC, and then in the SUP they were able to put certain conditions and agree to conditions on there that would allow that and reduce the effects to the neighboring properties in Highway 6.
Okay. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you answering my question as well. So
Sure.
Thank you for that.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Councilman Bonner.
I've got a couple of questions. Is there a positive or a negative impact to the water or sewer versus what's been there in the past?
No, they're not on, they're not connected to city water or sewer yet.
Okay. And then what about any anticipated more truck traffic in that area, or is everything that you repackage going back out on rail that's come in on rail?
Some of it may well go out on trucks. It kind of just depends on what they're trying to do. If Walmart's trying to kind of, move some of their products, there may be some trucks, but I believe there was quite a lot of truck traffic on that site previously. But certainly not,
But
like a
for your
daily.
business, there hasn't been a traffic study or anything like that done for your
No.
anticipated business?
No.
And staff was good with that?
Yes, because the property is already zoned heavy commercial, and we already factor in the maximum number of trips that will generate.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bonner. We'll go Mayor Pro Tem Lance.
Good evening. You may have quoted it earlier. I didn't hear it. Will y'all be doing any dismantling of the existing towers or whatnot out there?
The intention will be over time to do that, yes, yeah. We don't really have much use for them. We'll try and, either recycle them or repurpose them for other sites, but not to be used on that site.
Okay. And all the equipment out there has already been chemically purged and?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what we're kind of doing right now, is just putting things back together, to be honest, because it was all very, very well clean, to be fair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let's see, Councilman Bonner, any other questions from council? Okay, Councilman
Just
Bonner.
one follow-up there. When you start talking about the dismantling and because we have residents that are concerned about stuff, what about any possible ground contamination? Has there been any studies done with that plant being there for as long as it has?
Yes, so we did quite a lot of work environmentally. We bored our own holes. HC also provided quite a bit of work on that, and then the ponds were drained at the back, and they'll all be backfilled. So, yeah, we didn't find any additional contamination. I think there was one report done about 10 years ago that was closed out by the TCQ, and that was all that we found.
Good. Sounds like y'all are pretty proactive there, so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none, do I have a motion for this agenda item? Okay, we'll have the motion from Mayor Pro Tem Lands. We'll give the second to Councilman Rossi Knox. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes in a 5-1 vote. Look forward to seeing you guys move forward with your project. Thank you for being here tonight.
Appreciate it.
All right, agenda item number 2. This is consideration and possible action to approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2026-0-10. I believe This is regarding our comprehensive plan. Joes, do you have a presentation for us?
That is correct. Mayor and Council, we've had the first reading on this item. We've had a process ongoing to update our comprehensive master plan and the major thoroughfare plan. If you remember at the first reading, we had our consultant, Gary from Kendick East Collaborative, who showed all the final changes that were made to the comprehensive plan and major thoroughfare plan based on the input we received from both the council and the public during the workshops. Based on that, now we're at the second reading. In your packet, we've included a data sheet that lists the specific changes that were made. So there were two sets of instructions from the council that we got. One was on the major thoroughfare plan, where first item was regarding Markham Lane alignment. The direction was to change the classification to collector north of Highway 6 and to show the collector only between Belcher Road and Oilfield, and to remove the rest of the alignment down to South State Highway 6, and then to change the name to the portion south of Highway 6. We also had specific direction for Del Bello Boulevard to keep it as Parkway, but to restore its connection to Del Bello Road, to keep it just as it was in the current major thoroughfare plan. And then we also had some input from you, Mayor, on the comprehensive plan. There were specific pages and specific portions which you had mentioned as something that we needed to update. And we've listed those changes in our data sheet, and then the document shows those changes included. Our recommendation is that we adopt the second reading, adopt the ordinance by approving the second reading, so that we have a new comprehensive master plan.
Awesome. Thank you, Joes. Just as a call out for council, we received communications from Angie Alley and Zach Alley. They appreciated all of our work. They're not able to be here tonight, but they appreciate our efforts to keep our area rural while it is still possible. And they wanted me to express that regards to all of us. Council, any comments or questions regarding the comprehensive plan? I'll just add thank you, Joes, Dan, the entire team, all the work, Keating Keast, that they've done to get us to this point. Dan and Joes did have a meeting with me after the council meeting as discussed, and very open and receptive to what council we were recommending as the next path forward there. So this is the accumulation of 2 years of work tonight, and all of that hard work by everyone involved doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you, guys.
Mayor, I would like to just add one more thing. So on our agenda, we have two items. So the major thoroughfare plan is a separate item, that is item number 3. So everything that I discussed is as one comprehensive plan and the major thoroughfare plan. So
Thank you so much, Joes. Appreciate that. Joes, would you just be able to highlight, once we adopt this comprehensive plan, what's the next step from here? Would we look realistically to update our zoning ordinance to make sure that it aligns with the comprehensive plan? What would be the next step?
So the comprehensive plan includes several recommendations based on the goals that were set in our strategic plan, and staff would take a look at all the recommendations, and it also provides us like an implementation recommendation and plan. Based on off of that, I think one of the biggest component definitely is going to be updating our zoning ordinance so that it reflects the comprehensive master plan as well as the major thoroughfare plan. And then there would be also other plans that we might look into. But we'll start looking at how to phase all the recommendations and start working on things one at a time.
Perfect. Thank you, Joes. Council, hearing no other comments or questions, do I have a motion for this agenda item?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve from Councilwoman Sarmiento. We have a second from Councilwoman Roby Robinson. Crystal said girl power. All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you, everyone. We have a round of applause for Ms. Heidi there. Thank you, Heidi. Agenda item number 3, consideration and possible action to approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2026-0-11. This is the thoroughfare plan as mentioned by Joe's earlier. Council, any comments and or questions regarding the thoroughfare plan? Hearing none, do I have a motion for the thoroughfare plan? We have a motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Lands. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilwoman Sarmiento. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you, everyone. More round of applause for Heidi. Thank you, Ms. Heidi. Agenda item number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2026-0-14. Joe started to give us an overview of this, but we did at our joint public hearing with PD&Z get an overview of it. So council, we should be well aware of what this item is. Do I have any comments and or questions regarding this agenda item? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve this agenda item? We have a motion to approve from Councilman Rossi Knox. Do I have a second? We have a second from Councilman Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you, everyone. Agenda item number 5, consideration and possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2026-0-12. We received a presentation regarding this property from Joe's during the public hearing. We do have the landowner and applicant here if we have questions, council. I'll kick us off. I think this property makes great sense being commercial. Right along County Road 58, the entrance to a neighborhood, it makes sense being commercial. Previously, we did reject an SUP for a gas station because there were 2 right across the street from it. Even if we approve this tonight, there's still hurdles, as Mr. George could attest to, that anybody that wants to buy would have to overcome. One is passage over the GCWA canal. The bridge for his property would have to be expanded to handle more traffic. You might even have to look at a second entrance. Second, Rodeo Drive, ingress and egress. The HOA would have to approve that because they own a strip of land along that road. So the HOA would have a say. There's no city utilities, water, wastewater. So my understanding is that the MUD would have to either annex or do some sort of consent. The city would have to consent as well. So there's some say and buffering in that. My only concern with approving this to be just light commercial outright is we've heard from our residents, they don't want more dentists or donut shops. They don't want more car washes or washaterias. Those are currently allowed outright within light commercial. I'm more than happy to move this forward to the second reading for tonight so we can continue to have some discussions. But Joe's, I'm wondering if, something like an LC2, which could be like light commercial zoning 2, we could be a little bit more restrictive. Could that apply to this property? So that way the application of what the community has said they don't want to see could apply, while also setting up Mr. George for success, longtime Manvel resident, to be able to sell his property and bring something in that benefits our entire community. Could you share some thoughts on that?
Yes, Mayor. So currently, we only have 2 commercial districts. One is the light commercial, and the other one is the heavy commercial. So heavy commercial would be your industrial type uses. We did talk about one of them in our previous agenda. Light commercial does allow for a wide range of uses, low intensity retail sales and service type uses, and there is no distinction between the specific types of or subcategories of a certain use. So we are limited in terms of a zoning designation. So if we have to allow for a commercial use, the base zoning has to be light commercial at this point. However, if you all remember from some of the discussions on the comprehensive master plan, there is a recommendation for us to look at our zoning district allowances to see if we need to kind of create different kind of grades, both in terms of land uses as well as the design character to fit different areas within the city. And that would be one of the approaches we'll be taking since we've adopted the master plan right now. So currently, light commercial is the lowest intensity zoning that we have. So if the council is okay with allowing for commercial, this is the only district we have.
To that point, thank you for that, Joes. To that point, if we zoned it to light commercial now, one, we do have a safeguard of a yes or no because we would have to consent to utilities. There's no other way to get to utilities without our consent.
That is correct.
It's a business type that does not fit with the vision of what the citizens have told us they want. We can say no to the consent. And then let's say we go down this process and we do some sub-classifications within light commercial, as you just discussed. That could then, probably 6 to 12 month process, looking through all of that, going through the public hearings. At that point, that could then be applied to properties such as this, moving into the future as we look at what that entails. Is that accurate?
I think so. If I understood correctly, I think so.
Okay. Sounds good. That answers my questions. Like I said, I'm more than happy to move this forward tonight, have some additional conversations over the next 2 weeks. I think light commercial works. Just want to make sure that, as we talked about with the P3 companies, I think Councilman Bonner spoke to it. We want to be unique here in Manvel. We just don't want to copy and paste of every other city that you see, and so want to be mindful of that. Councilwoman Sarmiento, I see you're unmuted.
I agree to an extent. However, when we understand businesses and demographics, when we start to put heavy restrictions on it, I mean, I'm okay when it comes to residential, saying, hey, we don't want teeny tiny homes coming here in high density. But when it comes to business and the classifications of it, we're basically giving a blanket to say you're approved for light commercial. Once we start getting into like extreme government sticking in their hands and saying, no, we're not going to approve you because we don't like that you want to bring a taco shop or something. I'm exaggerating there. But when there's a propensity for donut shops, dentists, those are business models that require very little investment. That's why you see them everywhere. They're easy, they generate a lot of profit, and they're easy to maintain. Now, I don't want to see another one of those because we want sales tax revenue. But at the same time, just understanding why those businesses are coming here is what's important, and finding ways to say yes, or maybe having EDC work with them to attract the type of businesses we want rather than coming and finding more restrictions is what I would like to see, finding a middle ground for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other, Councilman Rossi Knox?
The Collins family are very sweet people. They allowed me to put a sign up. They didn't know who I was. Very good people. I hope that you get what you want tonight, and I hope that you're able to sell your property for a good price.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments or questions from council? Dan, Tammy, Joes, did we receive, because with a zoning change like this, you have to send out notice to nearby properties. Did we receive any written comments back from any neighbors or residents expressing? I know we received a lot during the gas station one. Any this time? No, okay. I know I posted about it in the Rodeo Palms group, and no negative comments to it being light commercial. I think the main one I heard is just concerns about the impacts on Rodeo Drive and what that would look like, but the HOA does have a say in that.
Correct.
Awesome.
And in terms of access, like you mentioned, on both the streets, there's going to be multiple steps involved before the access can be established. GCWA and the HOA on the other street.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jose. All right, council, do we have a motion for this agenda item? All right, we have a motion from Councilman Rossi Knox, a second from Councilman Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you, Mr. George, for being here tonight. Thank you, staff, for your work. We'll have the second reading on our next council meeting. But with it being unanimous, it's expected to be on the consent agenda unless there are citizens' concerns that come up. So thank you, Mr. George. How's your wife doing, by the way? All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, agenda item number 6. This is consideration of possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2026-0-13. We had a joint public hearing with PD&Z about this at our last council meeting. So council, any comments and or questions as it relates to this agenda item? Hearing none, do I have a motion for this agenda item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Councilman Bonner. Do I have a second? We have a second from Councilwoman Roby Robinson. All those in favor? All those opposed, motion passes unanimously 6-0. We'll now move on to mayor and council comments, and I want to say, Councilwoman Sarmiento, I believe this is your last meeting with us tonight, and want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to serve alongside you. We know that your service is not defined by a title or by a seat. It's defined by a passion and a love for your community and what God has called you to do. And it has been such a privilege to learn from you, to work with you, to challenge you some, and have those conversations. But you'll be missed, and you've left big shoes to fill. And we're excited for what God has in store for you next.
Thank you so much. Okay. It's been an honor to serve. I said that since day one. I didn't know what God had in store for me, if I would be here at the end of 3 years. But I said, as long as I get what I want done, I may not need to. I don't know. I'm not chasing the titles. I'm not chasing, although, yes, I did run for Congress, but that was because many people asked me to, and I just prayed about it and had peace about it. This is not the last of me, y'all. So I'm just saying, I don't know what the future holds, but I intend to stay very involved and share my opinions if they matter or not. But it has truly been a privilege. When I started 3 years ago, I would like to just say that the culture was a lot different, and I'm not taking credit for that. I think that's all of us, the council that came in, us being able to navigate that. It's leadership with Dan. Dan came in also when we came in. We switched the leadership from the top. Tammy, everybody here has really been instrumental in Manvel moving forward, and that was my platform. Let's move Manvel forward. And we have done amazing things. We have no more dirt roads. Yay! We have a park in construction. That was one of my biggest goals. We have done so much. We still need those sidewalks, okay? But I'm so proud. I'm so proud when people ask me, where is Manvel? And I get to tell them it's in Brazoria County, and I get to tell them about our team, about you guys, about the people, your department who's doing the work, laying the gravel, out there shoveling. We like to post our social media post and take the credit for what the city's doing, but we're just at the top making the decisions. You guys are the ones that drive it forward. And so I'm just so proud of the city, and I'm excited to see where we go in the years to come. Thank you guys. It's been a complete honor. It's been the honor of my life to sit with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments or questions from council? We'll go Councilman Bonner and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Just to echo everything about it, Crystal, it's been a privilege and an honor. So, one thing I want to add to the conversation is this Friday, May the 8th, Isaiah House 117 is having their ribbon cutting. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that. This will be the first Isaiah House in Brazoria County. The chief knows probably more than anybody about the situations that are caused not having a place like this, where a child that has an incident that involves CPS has to be picked up and may sit in an office, may sit someplace while CPS works through its deal. This way they have a place to take that child to. A child is taken in, it's bathed, it's fed, it's given a backpack with some of its own stuff. Some of these kids show up and they've got a pillowcase full of one or two things that they could grab before they left. So this is really a big deal. The founder of Isaiah House is going to be there. There's supposed to be a couple of hundred people at this ribbon cutting, but the public is invited. If you don't know where it's at and you're interested, just get with me and I'll give you some further directions on where it's located at. This has been an undertaking of the whole area around here, not just one little city and one little place, but dozens and hundreds of people and businesses that have gotten this to the point to where they're able to start accepting children here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that last week was the awards banquet at Manvel High School for the scholarship students. And of course, I gave out the memorial scholarship in honor of my dad, Jack F. Lance Memorial. It's $5,000 scholarship. And it went to Julian Harris, a fine young man. And he's going to A&M, and he's going to be in the Corps. So that young man, his focus is good. And we met his parents at the awards ceremony, and I am just very thrilled that he's the one that we selected.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate you doing that for our community. Tammy, we have a special meeting coming up. It's going to be May 11th. Okay. What time is that going to be at?
So that meeting will be at 5 p.m.
Okay.
And then on the 18th, Crystal, if you can come back, this isn't your final goodbye. We'd like to recognize you for the 3 years on council and all you've done on the 18th.
And that's going to be, Tammy, where we'll have swearing-ins too, and that will be at 5 p.m. on the 18th to do that?
So typically we would do it at 6 during the regular meeting. We will already have sworn in, so it's ceremonial.
Okay.
So it would be during the regular meeting when more of the public can be here, but if you want to do it at 5, we can do it at 5.
No, we can do it at 6. That's perfect. Yeah, thank you. All right, council, any other comments, questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion? Well, Councilwoman, can you do your very last motion for us?
Okay. I make a motion to end the meeting
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
at 7:21.
We'll give it to the girl power here, Councilwoman Roby Robinson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you, everyone.